It's right. What?
All right. Welcome to PDA Positively Disagreeable Podcast. We are here in record breaking time, ladies and gentlemen. 7 minutes after start time is our new record. We're very proud of that. We're getting closer and closer each week. We're going to, Victor said he's going to buy beer for everybody who watches the show the first time we go live on time. He figured that was a safe bet to make because he's normally the reason we're not on time, so we figured we're balance out the scales a little bit. No, just kidding. I'll buy, unless the live viewership goes up quite a bit, I'll buy beer the first time we all go on live for everybody who's watching. I'm down for that.
We're breaking any banks.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, we're here and we're ready to get started. We're going to do a special broadcast today. We have somebody who's been watching the show and enjoying watching the show and was commenting live during the broadcast last week. And as we've said to you guys multiple times, we really want people to interact with the show, and we'd be willing to do all kinds of cool things to show how happy, that thankful we are for y'all participating. So Jack, one of our viewers, has been watching and participating, and we invited him to come on the show. He got to pick the topic that he wanted to talk about. And so we're going to do that here in just a little bit. Before we do that, we had some comments on the post after the show ended, so we just didn't get a chance. We do try to read them live when we're on the show. If they come up live, we love you guys commenting. So we appreciate it live or after the show is cool too. But because these came in after the show, we hadn't gotten a chance to comment on them. I thought we would do a quick read through of what Ed put up after the show ended and give him his shout out for participating, although he seemed to not like me very much. No, just kidding. Was not happy with some of the arguments I was making last week, which is fine. That's the point of the show. So we still love you, Ed. But I did seem to be a very specific target. So that's all right. That's okay. So first comment that we got was 18 minutes. At the 18-minute mark, Adam, you argued that losers should lose their monuments unless you happen to think they were good. You are no different than the incels you described a few minutes earlier. If I want it, I deserve it. I haven't gone to the 18-minute mark after the show to see specifically what he's talking about. But if at any point what I was trying to say got mistaken, is that was never the argument I was trying to make. Quite specifically, I was trying to suggest that while, in fact, if we only left monuments up for people that didn't do anything bad, we wouldn't have any monuments, right? I don't think we should try to erase our history. The argument I was trying to make for 3 or 4 hours, and I thought I did well at doing it, but maybe not, was that there's a difference between memorializing somebody for some really great shit that they did and memorializing somebody for the actual horrible shit that we don't like about them, right? And we all have done horrible shit, but there's a difference between memorializing somebody for opening hospitals and taking care of children and literally memorializing them for their role in a war against whether slavery should be, legal or not. That was the argument I was trying to make, not that losers should lose their monuments. I mean, who's a loser? Time changes the idea of that all the time, right? So no, I don't think people that just lost should not get. And I don't think Ed's like trying to say I specifically said that, but that was the gist of my argument. That wasn't the gist of my argument. It's not what I was trying to say.
The Romans did that. The Romans knocked down all the gods.
Sure. I mean, it happens a lot. Yeah. I mean, the winners will often come in and destroy monuments to the losers that they've just beat. That's certainly pretty common in history. But anyways, my point wasn't that winners get to keep them and losers don't get to keep them. And again, my point was not that we should, it kind of bothers me, not specifically Ed, but that anybody would misunderstand what I was trying to say, because I don't think we should be judging people today on today's standards that were around 100 years ago. I think that's impossible to do. I think those of us who pretend like we would be the same wonderful person 100 years ago that we are today are lying to themselves. That's probably not what would have happened. Very, very few of us would be that way, as much as we'd like to think that we were. And I think it's ridiculous to hold people to those standards. And I don't think you need to go removing stuff that because there's something negative at all, tied up with that person or what it's memorializing. That wasn't the argument I was trying to make, at least. The next one, remember, if the South wins the Civil War and a second Civil War is actually a war between countries and an invasion. Good point. I didn't get, I wasn't trying necessarily to be that accurate about that, just because it wasn't the gist of the argument that we were trying to make at the time. But that's absolutely right. If the South had won, then there would have been two countries, and it wouldn't have been a civil war the second time. So factually, that's absolutely correct. Secondary, Lee was courted by both the North and the South. His career was longer than just a civil war. I think we actually discussed that. We talked about the fact that he was a general for the United States before he separated to fight.
He said he would go as Virginia went.
Yeah,
and Virginia decided to secede, and he left with him.
Right. So I don't know. We talked about that, so I'm not exactly sure why that was a post that needed to be made. But Ed's right about that. Lee did not just fight for the South in the Civil War. He did lots of other things. And to the point I was trying to argue, if like it had been a monument to some fight that he had, some battle he had won before the Civil War, I would probably argue, get over it. I mean, again, I don't live there, so it's not something that I care that much about either way. We were just talking about it for, as a stance to make in a debate. I personally don't give a shit that much about any of these statues, but I was arguing I could see how some people did and why they might want to see it gone. If it was a monument to a battle that he fought for the United States prior to the Civil War, I would say people would have a much, smaller argument to make as to why it was a big deal that it be there. But anyways, you are right. He did fight for the United States.
The next comment.
By your logic, Grant, Union General should also be canceled. I don't know what logic that was that would say that.
I think he was trying to say about because Grant had owned slaves, so he's just as guilty as everyone else. Which is true. So, I mean, you're right. He's guilty as everyone else.
Yes.
And, but again.
So, yeah, I mean, again, if I was trying to make the argument for anybody who ever did anything bad should be unmemorialized, that would be a legitimate argument. I didn't. I think I tried really hard not to make that point over and over again. So it bothers me a little bit that the people listening might think that was what I was trying to say, because it definitely was not. And we specifically talked about that several times in the debate. So it surprises me a little bit. But that's definitely never the point I was wanting to make or trying to make. I was trying, I think I even said, and I say this a lot in our show, that we are smart enough people to realize that there are like degrees, right? There's a word I use for it that I can't think of right now, but it's like, things can be complicated, right? It doesn't have to be a black and white, take them down, don't take them down. Like, we do have the ability to look at stuff and say, you know what, this one does make sense, or this one doesn't. We have,
the whole thing about the stuff that we're discussing is that they are complicated issues.
Right.
It's nothing. If it was easy, there wouldn't be too much of a discussion.
Absolutely. Which is, and to the point, I ain't mad at Ed for making the comments. Like, come and knock us down all you want to.
Please,
I mean,
continue to comment.
Talk shit about me all you want. If you disagree with me, all I want is for people to come on here, give us their honest opinion, whatever that opinion is. If you're willing to give it, then I'm still waiting for I'm grateful for it.
The bullets are indiscriminate. I like that comment.
Adam,
right there.
you argued earlier in the video, if someone contributed to society good, i.e. built libraries for poor children despite their evils, should be memorialized. Now you argue that anyone who's committed any act against society should never be memorialized. At the same time, you are chastising Vic and Dodd for arguing the same thing. Yeah. I mean, I think we've kind of talked about, I think that kind of falls under the same thing I've been saying the whole time. That wasn't what I was trying to say.
It's kind of hard to do like the Cosby Memorial Children's Hospital, though,
Well, I mean, sure. I mean, maybe 100 years from now,
it would be
less hard.
Memorial Women's Center. No.
It might be less hard in 100 years to go back and talk, because the man did do a lot of amazing shit despite the horrible shit that he's done, right? I mean, there's no doubt about that. Maybe 100 years from now, it'll be easier to come back and talk about those things. But my point was, if you did a memorial to like how he got so many women, casting calls or whatever you know what I mean? Like you pick what you're memorializing the guy for. You know what I'm saying? If it's the advancement to Black people in the United States, yeah, he did some great, amazing stuff. If you're doing a monument for how he helped advance women's rights, that's not in good taste, is my point. You know what I'm saying? Like, it depends on what it is you're talking about.
Question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. We're talking about the memorial of the general, right, who fought in the Confederate Army?
Right.
Yes, sir.
The memorial that we're talking about, was that the memorial erected specifically for his battle in the Army, or just his overall career in the Confederate Army?
I believe it was his overall career, because it's him on a horse in front of like City Hall in like the middle of the town square.
In his Union.
Okay.
In his
right.
And his Confederate Army get up.
It was his overall career.
Okay.
So somebody needs to. Yeah. Okay. Anyways,
got it.
So,
I don't
so let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, because I think they were looking at the point of, were there other things that he accomplished during the Confederacy as being a general, as a legitimate army, right? A legitimate Confederate army that he fought for. What the memorialization was, did it, like, so what you're saying is, well, what I was trying to maybe clarify is that we are going completely against the Confederate Army and everything it stood for. That's why he should not be memorialized. Is that kind of a base understanding?
I mean, you're to your point. I mean, because
I'm trying to maybe shed light on, because if we're looking at him being memorialized and he was a general of the Confederate Army, what we're in blanket saying is that the Confederate Army is something that we should not acknowledge, or, well, not necessarily acknowledge, but not memorialize.
I think I agree with that. Like, real quick, I don't want to get too.
Is that safe to say? I mean, no, I'm just saying, just try to maybe help.
I think
help clarify your point that you were trying to make to the people who were right. So what your stance is that the Confederate Army was a bad thing to even try to memorialize.
Yeah, that's what I think.
This person being the general of a bad army,
right?
Or of an army that had a what's the word? Bad
intention.
Yeah, I guess, or their belief,
what they were fighting for. Yeah,
right, was a horrible thing.
Yeah,
and to memorialize this person,
memorialize that part of him, right? Because they're right in the fact that he was a general for the United States before he was, or I don't know what his rank was in the United States before he separated. I'll give you that, but I mean, he was in the U.S. military before he was in the Union military. So, like, if it was just a plaque,
so he left the U.S. and went down to the Confederate Army.
Right. He split from our country to fight against us. And I for what were a lot of reasons, but one of the major ones was that the South didn't want us to make slavery illegal. And might not have been what he was fighting for, but it was
a colonel.
Colonel,
of the U.S. Army and a general.
Right. It was the thing that it was the line in the sand for Lincoln, right? Like, we're not going to allow slavery to continue to be legal. Anything that you guys put together that keeps that on the books, I'm not going to stand for. It was what brought us to war. While there might have been other things the South didn't like, that was Lincoln's line in the sand. Had they removed that and just left the other issues, we probably would not have gone to war. Obviously, I can't say that for sure, but it was the big thing, right? And so to have a memorial to a guy in the uniform for the militia, if we're being fair, that fought against our country because our president said, I won't let there be slaves anymore. I don't know that that's a proud thing to memorialize. Again, I'm not saying take it out of the museums or the history books. It's a very important part of who we are and where we got and how we got here. But to say this is something that people should stand in front of and be proud of, I don't know that that's a good thing to stand in front of and be proud of. And I can understand people who walk by it every day thinking this isn't something saying, look at this horrible thing that happened. This is a guy in bronze, like standing on his horse, tall and proud. And that pisses me off that I have to see that every day. That was the argument I was trying to make, is that, yeah, if you go around trying to take down anything about anybody who ever did anything bad, I mean, even people today, I mean, none of us are perfect. That's impossible, right? But there's a difference between saying, hey, look at the wonderful things that this guy did, and look at this thing that this guy did that we don't think is wonderful. You know what I mean? Like, we've decided as a society as a whole, certainly not everybody, that was not a thing that in our past that we should be proud of. Not something that we should forget, but something that we should be proud of. That's the argument I'm trying to make. Sure. If I did a poor job of that, that's on me. But
so the statue was something to kind of commemorate, or something to have remember what this guy did for the Confederate Army, not necessarily be proud of it. It was so. But in the same note, it's like put them in books or put them on a statue, which either or. There's the statue only shows the image, but then you have to go to the books to learn about him.
Right.
So you can take him off of the statue, but he's still in the book, so you still get to have this personal.
You still get to learn about him.
Right. So at that point, the statue only merits value to those who they choose to give. It only is valuable to those who give it value. Right. So his statue could be a paperweight. A firearm can be a paperweight until you load it and lock it.
Sure.
Which is so when we gave him that power by saying take him down, that actually the notion to take him down gives him more power than leaving him there.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's possible. You could argue that taking it down makes us all talk about it again, which I would argue is not a bad thing, right? It starts conversations like this and gives the chance somebody like Ed to call in and say I'm a moron for what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing either. That happens when either it gets taken down or even if it doesn't get taken down, right? Even if it's just people protesting about taking it down gets the conversation started. Look, I don't care about the statue. I have the ability to walk by a statue about somebody in reference to something that they did that I acknowledge was not a proud part of our history and see it as that, right? And that's fine for me, right? And again, there's something we're going to talk about that one in just a second, because he doesn't put my name in here, so maybe he wasn't arguing against me. But so here's another comment from Ed that I think will go towards what I'm about to say. Was there a vote to remove the statue? There's no way to prove who the majority is without the vote at 100% rate. Secondary, a minority of people waved great power by hurling insults and allegations. In a general way, you don't want the statue gone. You must be racist, which I completely agree. I think we did at some point talk about, was it?
Well, that would mean a majority of people say that in order to have them gone.
Right, and I don't necessarily think that would have been a bad way.
Not a minority.
Right, to decide whether to remove it or not, have a vote. The argument we were making about it last week was, the area that statue's in, which got us off on a whole another thing, but I don't know that is a majority white people, the people that would be proud of that statue. I don't know the answer to that without actually doing the vote, but my glance at that population would suggest that you wouldn't have a minority of people upset about that statue. We wouldn't know without doing the vote, which is why I think that would be a great way for them to have actually decided whether it needed to go or not. Because if it really is just 4 or 5 really woke people making a bunch of noise over nothing, then fine, leave the fucking thing there. I don't care. Yeah. I never have to fucking see it, right? Like, I really don't care. All I was arguing,
we've had to see it now for the last 2 weeks. The most
right. Have pictures of it only because people took it down, right? But I really don't care either way. I wouldn't even mind if I did have to see it because it doesn't bring up those things for me. I was arguing for people who I felt like might have to walk by it every day, might have to see a statue and understand what it symbolizes, and not think that when they're walking through their own town hall, they should have to deal with that. And I think that's a legitimate concern for people to have. But to the point of all of these comments, you can't take down everything that has any negative connotation. Not condensation.
Connotation
to it.
Condensation.
Yeah, because if moisture builds on that fucking thing, get rid of that shit.
So I have a question. It doesn't let you share it publicly. The video I'm trying to do it, share it into groups or with other people, but it doesn't let us. Will you want to look into that?
The comments? What are we talking about?
Actual
podcast. The statue?
Of the podcast.
He's trying to share the podcast.
Trying to share it.
Share it underneath where it says share.
Yeah.
No, when you click share, it only shares to a list of people that are a part of the page.
Oh.
It doesn't let you share it publicly.
Yeah, we'll definitely figure that out.
This is what we got some people jump in publicly right now and watch the live stream and be a part of it.
Okay.
We'll get it figured out by next week.
So last comment Ed made is, now Adam is speaking from logic, God is arguing from emotion. This is just crazy. I think that had to do with
I was arguing from emotion.
I think that had to do with
was that the Florida thing?
Minority stats, who's right about what the population breakdown is by ethnic groups. I don't know the right way to say that, but that's what.
Well, you can make it dismissive by saying logic and emotion, or you say I'm arguing from emotion, but I mean it's going to be an emotional thing, but you have to look at the logic in what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think you were. I don't think you were arguing from emotion.
Not necessarily. I wasn't. But that's that. What that is saying if when you're having a conversation, a way to describe it, a way to describe someone's off point is to say, oh, it's emotionally based versus based on logic. Logic puts a stamp of facts and data. Emotion is and so emotion can be misguided. When you make a comment like that, it's one of those things. Well, okay, did you listen to the logic in my emotion?
Right. Because then look, you're right, and I don't think and people are always wrong when they make that point of view, right? Sometimes people are choosing to ignore logic and facts and just doing it based on the way they feel. I don't think that's what you were doing. I think you were saying based on your own personal experience, you disagree with what the facts are, which is a difference between I just don't feel like, I don't care what, this isn't about what I've seen. These aren't the numbers I've read. I just feel like that isn't true. I mean, that's a whole different stance to take. And
it wasn't me feeling like it wasn't true. It's just using common sense to know,
You're saying that you're based on your personal based on your personal experience and your common sense, you feel like the numbers that are being put out there are inaccurate.
It's
Right.
like trying to describe to an ant what an airplane is.
Are we
Right.
the ant in this scenario?
No,
Was yeah?
no, the
I just
gentleman
want to
is the
know.
ant, and I'm trying to describe to him what an airplane
Oh, okay.
is.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. I
Like
just want to know.
I can't talk an airplane to an ant. Like I can't talk Jesus to a dog.
Right.
You know, is
And I'm not the dog in that
you know
situation
like
either, right?
no,
I
you're
just.
not. You're the handsome lad with the long flowing hair.
I'm the
Oh
dyslexic.
man,
I like to believe
Yeah,
you
I'm
got
like
me
to
at long flowing hair.
I like to believe
you
I'm the
sexy thing,
dyslexic dog
you.
in the conversation. I like to believe
Adam, the dyslexic dog.
I'm the dyslexic dog in the conversation. All right.
Oh
Anyways,
man.
Ed, I don't know why you hated on me so much, but thank you so much for doing it. No, I'm
Hey,
messing with you.
we love it though. Yeah, nah, bring
Come
it.
and
That's
hate
what
on
we
me
like.
all you want to. We'll read your comments every time.
Yeah,
If we're about
definitely.
to put a fan on the show, you want to come in and talk. I think um, that would be, maybe a little like the whole idea is we want to debate stuff, right? So if you're
Yeah, yeah,
disagreeing with
yeah.
us, I think it's easier to do in the moment because it's harder to go back and understand specifically what it is you're talking about when it's a week ago. So come on live, man. Either
Yeah.
if you don't want to come on the show, we can bring you on like we're on. We can bring you on just audio if you prefer that. If you like type it in like you did, all that's cool. And I mean, of course, you can go on after the show and comment. We absolutely want people to do that as well. But it's
Please
easier
comment.
to,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
Yeah.
take part
easier
in the
to,
show any way you can, any way you want to.
right. But it's
Share
definitely
it.
easier
Share it.
to, work out
Share it with
whatever
your
the issue
friends.
is when it's happening in the, not a week later, So, but we'll definitely, go back and look at the post. I didn't even know they had to tell me when we were coming on, because I have it up live every week just in case somebody's posting live. But it's been a crazy week. I hadn't had a chance to go in and check it yet. So, anyways, Ed, thank you so much for commenting. I love you too, brother. And no, I'm fucking with you. No, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
And speaking of having listeners on,
Yeah, exactly. So that was next. So,
segue.
Jack, one of our listeners, who was commenting last week live during the show, we were commenting back and forth with him and said that we appreciated him coming on the show and would he like to actually come on the show. And we've said this before. If somebody wants to come on, we'll talk. Let you pick your topic and debate it with us and participate in the show. And Jack was all for it. So thank God. So, anyways, before we bring him in, I had Jack send me a little information about himself so that you guys can know who he is and where he's coming from. Jack was born and raised in San Antonio until he moved to the suburbs of Houston. He
Literally
joined.
a block from my house.
Yeah. Yep. Jack and
Oh yeah, and I
Victor.
guess
I was just out in
uh
Houston this morning. Well, not Houston,
yeah, and I
somewhere
guess
way north
to
of
what is it
Houston.
to let everybody know, or in all honesty, he is my cousin. So just
Yes. Victor's cousin. Disclosure. Is that what you're looking for?
disclosure. That's the word. Disclosure.
Right.
Full disclosure.
All right. Yes. So lived down the street from Victor in San Antonio until he moved to the suburbs of Houston. He joined the Air Force out of high school, went to work for Compaq HP after. He works in the oil and gas industry now. He attended UH as a communications major and then transferred to UHD and graduated with a degree in supply chain. He's a follower of Christ, divorced, remarried again, has 5 children, 27, 25, 7, 6, and 3. That's the whole range.
That's all of them. Yeah.
Grew up liberal, but would consider himself independent to more libertarian conservative in many views now. Still has some liberal viewpoints. Says,
Oh, just so you know,
depending on the topic.
U of H is a wonderful college. It's a wonderful university.
He works as the precinct chair for 996 in Harris County and as the precinct election judge for the Republican Party. as we live in a binary political system. I think I talked to Jack a little bit about the show before, see if he wanted to come on. He says, he would call himself Republican only because there's only two parties to choose from. So I don't think he really considers himself a Republican or Democrat, but we'll let Jack give us that information. So we're going to go ahead and bring him in on the show. We've been having him wait until we could introduce him. So let's see here. And welcome, Jack. What's up, Jack?
What's
you hear
going
us?
on, man?
It says connecting to audio. So give me a second.
I'm getting ahead of the game.
It's coming. Yep.
Jack, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Welcome to PDA, man. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, no
Oh,
problems. No
no.
problems.
Awesome,
No,
man.
I appreciate the invite. I've enjoyed the communications that y'all been having immensely. It's something that I've talked to my friends about, like religiously about, like we have to stop seeing left and right as you're left, we're evil. I'm right, I'm evil. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're all fundamentally want the same thing. We want to have a great life. We want a better life for our children. We want to pursue whatever religious belief you have.
Right.
And I think that's what we all want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, somewhere along the line, we forgot about the fact that these things that we disagree with, often the things we disagree about, they're hot topic things, right? They're complicated, they're emotional. There's a reason we've been disagreeing about them for such a long period of time, and the fact that we still doesn't make the other person evil. It just means it's a complicated thing. People come down on different sides. We all have different experiences that we pull from, and it didn't used to be like this. Not that long ago, okay, I guess I'm old, a long time ago, politicians, like Democratic and Republican politicians, they used to like travel together when they would debate each other. You know what I mean? Like fly on the same planes, ride the same buses, argue with each other in between debate sites, but they were friends. They had drinks afterwards. Like they didn't hate each other. They just believed
They still do.
I think
Some
they
of
still
them.
are. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they still are, because like Dan Crenshaw is one of the representatives out here that I follow, and I really like him because I think he's very logical. I think he appeals to both sides because he's very logical.
Right.
But he said when the cameras are off, they're friends.
Yeah.
He said if you went and saw Congress, it's more like an episode of Veep than anything. He said because he goes, you can talk to these people, they'll say I agree with you, Dan, but I can't vote that way. I can't talk that way on camera because if I do,
right,
my own party will primary me and they'll get me removed.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm a strong proponent for term limits because I don't know if you'd see it in the first term, but I think on their last term, people would actually vote how they ethically and morally feel.
Well, I mean, they spend so much time worrying about getting reelected, which of course affects their vote. It also, like, they spend so much of their time like campaigning, trying to earn more money so that they have money to fight off whoever's trying to get them kicked out 2 years later. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Like there's a building across the street from Congress where after they're done voting and stuff, they can go over there and get on a phone, because you're not allowed to do it from a political building, and start calling people to donate money. That's like they have to do it like 3 hours a day every day. Like it's like
you got to feel bad for the what is it, the House of Republicans or the House of Republicans, the House of Representatives.
Yeah,
because it's a 2-year term.
2-year term, yeah.
2-year term.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you're elected,
getting,
you have like 6 months, and then you got to start working on your reelection.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you want to be a politician, keep in mind you're also going to have to be a telemarketer. Like that's part of the gig, which is crazy.
I honestly think it should be 12 years total.
Yeah.
12 years,
absolutely.
Two terms as a senator, or you get 6 terms as a House.
You know what, Dad?
You're done.
My
Honestly,
dad used
I think
to
the
say,
senator should be shortened to a 4-year.
2 4-year terms, just like the president.
4-year term, yeah.
Yep.
My dad used to say we should stop. Like the public should pay for campaigns, right? Anybody, like you have to get to a certain level so that you're actually a legitimate candidate, right? Whatever the process is to eliminate the people that don't really have a chance.
Not bad. Get to a primaries, win a primary.
Get to a primary state, then everybody gets blah, blah, blah about amount of money. It's equal. Everybody gets the same amount. They don't have to earn it. They just get it. we pay for it. I guarantee you, whatever the amount is, it's going to be cheaper than the money we pay out for promises people make and fucking pork barrel buffets and shit. You know what I mean? And then you got people actually going in there and voting that, you get to vote for somebody you believe in, and they get to go and vote based on what they believe in. You know what I mean? Which is what the system was intended to be,
I 100% agree, and I don't know if it'll ever change because the people that would be making those votes probably aren't going to vote for themselves.
Right. Right. Amen.
So that's why you'd have to have like the convention of states, which I think would be awesome to remove a lot of the power from the president and to move a lot of the power from the Congress. Right.
Well, and that's exactly right. Same thing like policy term limits. I mean, who's going to vote for something that's going to kick themselves out of, you know what I mean? You're right. I should only have been here I've been here 22 years. Fuck. I mean, it should be 44 years is how long it should be,
I mean, there's a few, but even like Ted Cruz. Let's see if Ted Cruz runs again, right? He's a proponent of term limits, and he said,
no, some would. Definitely some would. No, for sure. But there are definitely some people entrenched in there that have a lot of power, that it seems like their goal is, above all else, is to continue to keep as much power as they possibly can, almost at any cost sometimes.
I think Charles Barkley said it best, that they want us to keep fighting so that they can maintain control. Because I see it. It's pretty here blatantly. I think here lately, it's just, I don't know. It's just to me, the amount of loss of freedoms we've had here recently. It's precedent. I think they could just continue to do this, continue to shut the country down at any time that there's something that they feel is a threat to our health. Which was like when I don't I do smoke occasionally when I drink, but like when they started the smoking bans here in Houston, like local, if you're in the city of Houston, you cannot smoke in a bar.
Yeah.
I was against it because I said, one, if you're going to a bar and they're smoking there, then don't go.
Right.
If I can take something away from you based on that I'm doing it for your health, then what's to stop me from taking something away?
Right. So I agree. Well, and if you go,
they ban Cokes. They started banning the size of Cokes and fast food. I mean, where does it stop?
Yeah. In that case, it was the amount of Coke. Like, I mean, you can drink however much Coke you want. They just can't sell it to you. But I agree. I also, the thing about smoking too is, I watched this whole thing about it, and the whole secondhand smoke thing that everybody's so worried about was like one study that found that it was really, really bad for you. And every study,
I'm sure it is. I mean, it's not. Any logical person could think breathing smoke into your lungs is probably not smart, right?
But here's the thing: secondhand smoke is not enough to really have an effect on you. Like there was one study that showed that it was, but like. I mean, it might be different if you like live in a household with somebody who smokes and you're constantly always being like immersed in secondhand smoke. But like for the average person who just like goes into a bar or stands next to somebody smoking, it doesn't have any effect on them. Every study except the one that they used over and over again to get those bills passed shows that there's no real effect.
I would agree with you, but there is do you remember playing pool at Diamond J's? At 18, 19 years old when everyone was smoking, and it had this like lower level where all the pool tables were. It was cloudy.
But think about this.
Cloudy. Sure. Like you couldn't see it.
But think about smokers. Like most smokers who suffer from long-term illnesses and cancers and so forth, they're not people who smoked for a year, right? These are people that smoked every day, like 10, 20, 30, 40 cigarettes a day for, you're talking like 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Like how much time would you have to spend at Diamond J's to come anywhere close to inhaling the kind of smoke that these people are being?
But the question is not, okay, I got cancer for secondhand smoke. You can have health problems from smoking that aren't cancer. You can have shortness of breath.
And we can... We can sit here and make a logical conclusion to what we think would happen, but I'm telling you, every scientific study on it, which there's been thousands of since the one that was done that said it caused that, has not shown any link to occasional secondhand smoke exposure causing any health problems at all.
You're gonna make me Google.
Well, I would say like open bars that have no smoking, open bars that have smoking, and see, because even here in Houston, like when they had the smoking ban, the bars would pay the fine. They basically had people had cups of
Right.
water, and they'd smoke, and the cops showed everybody's put their cigarette out.
Right. Right. Well, and
the bar was okay with paying the fine
right.
because
They
who's
didn't want
coming
to
to
lose
the
the
bar?
business.
Yes,
Right.
who's
They didn't
coming to the
want to lose
bar?
the business.
It's not the non-smoking people. The
Right.
majority of people in there were smoking.
Right. I mean, to your point, even if it does cause problems, if you choose to accept that when you walk in, that's on you. Like you get like as long as the cigarette companies and people aren't lying and saying, "Hey, you can smoke all you want to and it's fine," right? If we're
I
all
think
aware and we are at this point of what could happen when you expose yourself to it and you make that choice as an adult, then you make that choice and you live with the consequences of it. We don't need government deciding what we should be able to take chances on or not, because the truth of the matter is it is when you start looking at the things that we can do and the things that we can't do, it a lot of it seems arbitrary, and a lot of it just seems like somebody or some group of people decided they didn't think that was something you should take a risk on. And so that's the thing that I would say often it's probably not arbitrary. It's probably something that they think that they can get a lot of votes, or a lot, people are going to start paying attention to them because they decide to make a big deal out of something, and has nothing to do with whether they actually give a shit about it or not, more often than not, would be my guess, right? But when you look at the things that we can do and the things that they've decided are too dangerous for us, you'd have to wonder, like, is there like a monkey pointing at pictures? Like, how the fuck are you deciding that this other shit that we do that's dangerous as fuck is perfectly fine, but this one thing isn't? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. There
no,
doesn't.
because
Well,
I
you
agree
do
with.
know.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you do know, and I had to deal with this when I had a heart issue, and talk with my cardiologist. He was explaining to me what smoke actually does. Um, he says the reason, if you're a smoker, you get one of the factors, not the factor, but one of the factors is that, mind you, is a cardiologist at the hospital explaining to me what smoke does. It's not my emotion. This is from a doctor.
Yeah.
He said that the reason people get that calm or relaxed feeling is because what it does is it takes oxygen out of the red blood cells on a molecular level. So you technically are suffocating yourself on a molecular level. That's where the relaxation feel comes from
Mm-hmm.
when you're breathing in smoke. It's it's no different. Just the body can interpret it different. Is why you have people who can smoke cigarettes, but they
Yeah, you also
can't
get like
be in a burning house with smoke, or they choke. But it's still the same thing.
yeah, if you smoke too, like take big drags, it's actually
Right,
partially hyperventilating. You get less oxygen to the brain,
Sure.
and you get a high feeling.
right,
Right. But we're talking
right.
about, to be clear, like, we're talking about the difference between not, some, again, I don't know if this, I don't know if specifically if they're talking about the difference between long-term exposure and, just in bars and restaurants and stuff. But I
Well,
As
that
far
know.
was
as
the,
what prompted the ban of smoking indoors.
Right. Well, the thing I was watching was essentially saying that the idea that people occasionally being subject to secondhand smoke, like, in restaurants and in bars and like on the street, right? The big deal was like people smoking right at the entrance or exit of a place because you can't walk past them without being exposed to secondhand smoke. And what they're saying
Right.
is that is not anywhere near enough smoke. I mean, we get exposed to shit that's bad for us
Yeah, it
all the
may not.
fucking
It may
time. It
not
has to
be.
be an
Yeah,
excessive amount of something for it to really cause a problem.
it may not be. But then you have to look at the places that don't take. How do you say? That don't have regulations or rules. The ice houses, the small mom and pop shops, to where they won't pass any type of code inspection at all. They just need to get the certificate. There's a lot of those places that were functioning, you know, there used to be a point in time where you could smoke at your desk in an office in a call
Right.
center,
Look,
you know.
you know,
And if you
people,
were to clean the walls had
yeah,
its own
Nicotine,
coat,
right,
like nicotine.
Yeah.
right. And look, and I'm
you
not
know.
suggesting that there's anything wrong with a place of business saying we're not going to subject non-smokers to 8 to
Smoke
10
outside is
hours a
fine, I would
day
say.
of continuous smoke. It's just sitting at their desk doing their job, right? Like that's a whole different thing than you going into a bar for a couple of hours a couple of nights a week. They're not the same thing, you know what I
You're
mean? Like
already
there's a,
Well, yeah, no,
destroying
I don't have no
brain
problem
cells
with the
with
smoking.
alcohol.
I just say smoke outside, just not indoors, you know,
right.
because it's not a filtration system. If they have a patio or a designated smoking area, that's
I
fine.
have
I don't think they say you
What?
can't smoke at bars. I think they say
I
you have to
think
smoke
no.
outside
You
the
I
can't smoke in the city that we live in. You can't smoke indoors anywhere. It's a city
right
ordinance.
indoors. But
yeah.
most bars have patios or back doors or front
Some of them do.
areas.
Yeah, some of
But
them.
Yeah.
see, that's
But
like in
still, I'm just saying,
California.
like,
Like California, they do, but here in Houston, dude, the humidity is 90%.
yeah, I mean, so fucking high
You're not
here.
going
Listen,
outside. You're not
exactly.
going outside to smoke.
Exactly. I
My
mean,
thing
that
is,
was kind of what was not when I used to smoke. What was nice about like bars and pool halls was it was a place that I could smoke inside. Because even when I smoked, I didn't smoke inside my house because I didn't want my house to fucking smell like an ashtray. You know what I mean? And so I would smoke on the patio, and it was fucking hot and sweaty and miserable. You know what I mean? But like, you could go to a bar, you could go to a pool hall and sit down and fucking relax and smoke a cigarette. Like,
And then that smells like an ashtray. And then when you
yeah, but
come
then you
out of
leave.
it,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
but
but I
your
think to your point,
clothes will still smell like the ashtray.
Yes, they will. Yeah,
they
they
do, and
will for
I
sure.
agree to your point, Doug. But I think that let the market decide because I'm all
Right.
about that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
what
It's
If you want to have
it
a
should be up.
non-smoking bar
It should
and
be up to the
you get the
bar
same
owner.
amount of clientele,
right.
then great. And if you don't like smoke and you know
Don't
me
go
and
inside. Yeah.
hey, we're going, there's gonna be smoke. If you have a problem with it, we'll meet you somewhere else afterwards. If
Right.
you
It's
Yeah.
yes.
I would
It
say
comes.
I would say make a Florida room with patio chairs and a ceiling fan at every bar.
Well,
A
here's the
nice
thing. The reason
netted
it
Or
Florida
becomes
room.
an
well, you
issue
know,
is because nowadays everybody feels like I deserve to have exactly what I want all the time, right? Well,
yeah,
so it's like you want to
absolutely.
have a bar where you can smoke. Well, I don't want to be exposed to smoke, but I want to be able to go to that bar. And so it's not fair that I can't go in just because you guys want to smoke. And so there needs to be a rule that nobody can do that so I can go in, but nobody pay. And I've been trying to say this, like we keep trying to create this society where everybody gets what they want all the time. The problem is we don't all want the same thing. You can't
Yeah.
create a utopia society where everybody anytime you change a rule or a law or make something to protect what you want, you're taking something away from somebody else that they want. Otherwise, you wouldn't need the fucking rule in the first place because it
I
wouldn't
like
have been an issue. You know what I mean?
kind of
So
I
then
like
it's
the
the
rule that it
majority
used to be.
win.
It
Right,
used to be
sure.
it used to be here in San Antonio that restaurants had a smoking area and it
Yeah.
was walled off from the regular area and it had to
It
have a
wasn't normally
certain
walled
type
off.
it had to have a certain type of exhaust. No, it actually had to be walled. It eventually had to be walled off. At one
yeah,
point,
but
it was just
the
separated.
smoke goes across. I mean, it goes
There
across.
was
No,
there
you're
was a
absolutely
short
right.
period
I
of
agree.
time. There was a short period of time
Areas that
before
were
they banned
closer to the
smoking inside
vents.
altogether, where they forced places that still wanted to allow people to smoke to do that. It didn't work
Yeah.
very well.
But
But
what I'm saying is that I think if you have a bar, you should be able to have a smoking and maybe have a certain rated type of exhaust that helps with the air inside.
I say you
Just
should be able
question.
to own a bar and say, look, if you're that worried about being exposed to smoke for 3 hours because you're that big of a pussy, then don't fucking come into my bar. It's my
So
fucking bar. You know what I mean? Like you don't
okay.
like it, don't fucking come in.
So let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
So because it's your bar and you're in favor of smoking,
Yeah.
just so you could smoke, you would rather lose out on money to keep your bar up and running?
I don't
But
think you
the,
I,
will.
I think
but
that's the
that's
I
the
don't think
choice.
you
thing.
will.
That's the
That's
choice you
the
make. That's the choice you
yeah,
make.
Right.
right.
Let the market
Here's
decide.
Right.
but
Agreed.
here's the thing. Here's the thing
I don't
though.
think you would, but you could
You
shoot.
say you alienate the people who don't want to smoke,
Sure.
Right,
but they
right.
do what but they would like to come in and purchase a drink
Yes.
at your bar, which you have a bar with alcohol that they want to come and purchase and give you money for, but they can't really deal with the smoke, breathe in the
Right.
smoke, or be around the smoke, or just don't like the smoke. But you created a business around alcohol, and they're coming to support your alcohol business, but you say, fuck you because you don't like smoke. I think that the smoke doesn't pay you, buddy. The alcohol does.
But
So
you'll
that's
have
what I'm saying.
pay.
I agree with you, Dot. But let the market. If he's not going to make enough money on smoking customers, then he's going to have to change his model.
Right, exactly. That's the
Or
point.
At a smoke, what I would say, at a smoking area,
which is
outside.
a good. Maybe that's a good business decision, right?
But that's he's marketing to. I think he's marketing to a specific clientele.
Right. And here's the thing. I would argue that the biker bar. I would argue that the bars that fought against making it illegal for people to smoke in there thought that the amount of business they got by allowing people to smoke was more than the business they would get by making it a smoke-free environment. And maybe they're wrong. You're not. I mean, you have a point. Maybe they're eliminating too many people, and when they stop, they'll make more money. But that's the free market. Like, I get to decide, does it make more sense for me to market to smokers, or does it make more sense for me to market to people that don't want to have to deal with that? But as the business owner, that's my decision to make. If I want to go out of business because I want to say, I don't want to allow anybody who in my bar who doesn't want to get spit in the face. I mean, that's stupid, but don't come in my fucking bar and let me go out of business then. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you guys a question. I don't know if I'm older.
You got Dick's Last Resort. Some places, some people apparently like being abused.
I've never been there.
I think it's stupid too, but it works.
Have you guys been to the airport? Do they have that smoking room at the airport still?
Yes, well, because I fly.
I don't know if they do here.
They have a smoking.
It was here in San Antonio. It was like a room with a.
No, I know what you're talking about. I don't know if they still have one here.
No, I don't think at the airports that I've been to, it's not indoors. It's usually an outside area, right?
Yeah,
this was an indoor room.
Yeah, they used.
I think they got
like a industrial size vent.
Yeah, I don't think they have them anymore.
I don't believe they have them anymore.
I don't smoke.
I think that was in that time period where they were doing the thing where like you could.
It was after 9/11.
It was when you could still smoke inside, but they had to like wall it off and all that shit, and then they eventually just banned inside smoking altogether.
The waiting room to be,
it was horrible.
Prison or something.
I mean, there was
like a concrete.
It was horrible.
Iron bench and it's like.
I've been
when am I gonna get booked and processed?
When I used to smoke, there was one airports there was like a couple of times I traveled where they still had that and I smoked, and then there was also one time where I had jury duty where they had like a room to smoke in if you smoked. It was, first of all, it wasn't like. The idea that you can magically trap smoke in a square room is fucking nonsense. Like the area around it was not great either, but like inside it, I mean, when you have to smoke, you have to smoke. You do what you got to do. But goddamn, I mean, I'd rather go outside than be in one of those fucking rooms. I mean, that shit was crazy. It was like horribly bad. But again,
Dick's Last Resort, unless you have been there, it's horrible but fun. Shout out to Grace. Sorry, I was reading a comment from.
No, it's good. No, yeah. That's kind of an insight. There's a bar here. I don't know if it's a chain or if it's just the one.
It's pretty famous because I mean we live here and I heard about it.
Okay, but they don't have them other places, right? It's just here. It's just the one here.
I thought there's one in Austin, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know usually the whole point is the wait staff's rude to you, right?
Yeah. They like tell you to shut up and like. Yeah, they're
That's
really
just a normal night at home with family.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut up, eat your food, ugly.
Yeah, like they definitely don't put up with like, I've been waiting for 5 minutes. They'll be like, yeah, and you're gonna wait 10 minutes more. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole point of it. It's kind of funny. It's funny. I mean, the whole. If you understand that they're not actual assholes, that it's just like everybody having fun. It's fun, but it's
like Chick-fil-A upside down.
I'm not going to tip somebody to make fun of me. I just can't do it.
Grace says it's a chain, so it's apparently popular. People like to be abused everywhere.
They should do that in the next Stranger Things. Chick-fil-A on one side and then Dick's is the upside down.
I've always been like a big guy, so I just don't, I've dealt with like, ridicule and bullshit like that, and I have got myself a pretty thick skin at this point. But It's not my favorite thing to be made fun of.
Yeah,
It's just one
well,
of
and
those
paying
things,
people to do it is like a,
And then I'm gonna pay, and then I'm gonna tip the motherfucker.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
like,
Come
that's
on.
called, isn't that masochism, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't, a
Yeah.
lady with a
Paying people to
bullwhip.
abuse you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she.
Well, we call it a relationship.
Yeah.
Bro, you know.
All right. So I actually looked up airports with smoking rooms, and they're
Yeah.
called smoking lounges.
Ah, well, of
Let's
course.
see, and this is Matahari Airport,
Matahari,
Cincinnati. Yep, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. Wait
Didn't
up,
Matahari
Kentucky.
where they got like that kid was smoking? Like
She was
he smokes all
Matahari
day.
was actually a spy, a female spy.
Oh,
Matahari.
shows how much I know. It sounds like that kid who was like 8 years
Yeah,
old.
that was smoking like a pack of cigarettes or
Like,
something.
yeah, man, my life
Oh,
is
that was
stressful.
fucking horrible.
I was like,
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
bro? You're 8. Like, put that shit down.
All right.
Wasn't there one that was even younger? Wasn't it one that was like,
Yeah, there was one that was like 5 or 6 or something
like,
like that.
yeah, like, I mean, it looks
Geneva?
fucking hilarious. You know, if you didn't know they were gonna die when they were 12, you know, like.
All right.
There's something funny seeing a little kid be off, you know, like, you know, you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Bro, your lungs are the size of AA batteries.
I mean, you know, there's as
Like
bad
a
as
little
smoking is, like to like lungs still developing at that age. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's fucking horrible. Like, it's horrible.
All right. Let me finish the list.
All right.
Geneva Airport, Nashville International Airport. Shout out to Nashville. Amsterdam Airport, Hatfield Jackson, Atlanta. Way up Atlanta.
Not surprised.
You like that? Georgia. McCarran
Georgia.
International Airport.
McCarran, that's Las Vegas, right?
Is that
Las
where it
Vegas.
is?
McCarran?
Okay.
Yeah, that's Las Vegas.
That sounds
Yeah, of course
right.
you can smoke in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Hamad International Airport.
I think when you fly to Vegas, you can smoke right until you like fly through the international space that leaves Vegas. Then you have to put it out. Is the rule.
Yeah, flick it out the window on the airplane. Pull it down.
Oh man, I thought it was Kansas. It's Kansai.
Flush it down the toilet.
Airport. Salt Lake City International Port. That's the Mormons right there. Right? Salt Lake City Mormons?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Utah.
Nevada
was actually was it ran by the Mormons or owned by the Mormons, and then the Italian mafia came out there and kind of like made some deals. But a lot of that land in Nevada was.
I thought it was
Nevada
the Jewish people.
and Boise. Boise's pretty big too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chicago
Washington Dulles International Airport.
I used to date a Mormon chick.
Miami International Airport. I love Florida.
Oh yeah, shout out! You can do anything in Miami as long as you got the money for it. Half of Miami was built off of illegal shit. So
Miami is crazy.
This should show my age, but when I was deployed one time to Panama, we flew commercial and they could still smoke. People in the back smoked.
Yeah.
Talk
about like smoke. The smoke flows right up to the front.
Yeah, I mean, there's when we were kids, when we go on vacation, you could smoke on planes. I remember for years after they banned smoking, the armrest still had the fucking ashtrays in them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they were like just people put trash in them or something after that.
It's evolved. Like I see both of y'all, it's evolved to that now. People are vaping it, and there's concerns about how dangerous vaping is. What is the vaping doing to your lungs?
Right.
I
vape because everything I've seen by well-respected doctors says if you don't smoke, don't start vaping. But if you smoke, we're not saying vaping's good for you. We're just 99% sure it's better than smoking is. So
inhaling any foreign substance,
right, it's not going to be good for you.
It's probably not good for you.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Right, but if I can,
or you can live in LA.
Right, if I couldn't quit smoking, and so if they're telling me that this is like 99% better for you, then I'm gonna go with the thing that's at least better for me. Then
my understanding is the carcinogens that cause cancer are from the actual act of burning.
Yeah.
So you take out that burning part of the smoking.
Right, but you're right. None of those places that say vaping's better than smoking think that vaping is good for you or that you should do it. Like everybody says, just don't fucking smoke shit. Like don't inhale shit you're not supposed
You're
to
right.
inhale,
Yeah.
and you're probably gonna live longer. That's just smart idea, right?
Yeah, but
But
I don't think we're doing any of that. I mean, it's the food, it's health. I mean,
oh yeah, it's lots of shit.
like I said, I think because
We
I studied a bunch of religions before I decided to really commit my life to Christ. Like the Buddhist principle, like understanding exactly like where you're at right now, so enjoying where you're at now,
right,
than living. I mean, tomorrow's not promised, so
right,
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
might as well enjoy your life while you can.
No, that's true. I mean, I think I kind of subscribe to the idea that you have to have a balance of both. Like if you're only worried about tomorrow, then you're not enjoying the only time that you actually have, which is the present, right? But if you only live in the present, I mean, statistics show that you might
I think
not live
it
as
doesn't
good of a
say
life
live.
as
It
you
doesn't say
would.
like the principle is more like understanding the beauty of
Right,
life.
of
Like
living.
us
No,
right
no,
now,
no, right,
what
right,
has brought all of us to this point in time right now. Like I'm
right,
here talking. My cousin. Well, it's nice to see my cousin because I don't. Since we live in Houston and as we've gotten older and our families grow, we just don't get to spend as much time
Absolutely.
together.
sure.
That family reunion was nice, even though you noticed everybody pretty much still stayed in their family. Everybody stayed in their family groups, right? Hector's family was
Yeah.
here. Tim's family was over there. My mom's family was all together. I mean, nobody intermingled as
We
much.
often naturally segregate ourselves.
Yeah, and I'm usually the intermingler. Like
Me too.
I am the guy. So like I love the family reunion. So I'm the one that like goes out and like says hi to everyone's family. But yeah, no, you're right. Everyone kind of sat in their little family units. But man,
Yeah, no,
like it was awesome to see you and catch up with you and just everyone, man. You need to make like a whole
Because
weekend of it or something.
like my immediate family is going through some stuff right now, and I've tried to like tell them they just don't understand what they married in. They should know what they married into, right? Because like
Yeah, yeah,
my family, my mom's family, up until recently was like what we grew up with. Like everybody went over there on Sunday. My mom's real involved with all the kids, but they married people that are outside of the race who don't. I don't know if they prescribe to the same or just weren't raised in that same manner to where like family meets and family hangs out and family I
yeah.
don't think
Oh
they
yeah,
just work right, so it's different for them. But I was like they should know what they married into because that's the way they were before
yeah,
they got married.
right,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And even my sister Vivian, they've gone to where they do Thanksgiving themselves and just by themselves. It's their family,
yeah.
it's their family
Right.
time. And I said, well, you're teaching your kids an awful lesson. And I said that lesson is going to come back on you because when
Yeah,
your
for
children get
real.
older, they're going to say, hey, no, we're not coming over for Thanksgiving because we're spending
right.
Thanksgiving with our family, and it's
Yeah,
our family. I said
yeah,
that's the lesson you're teaching them, because
yeah.
I tell people, Europeans, actually, the United States is one of the few countries where we don't live generationally.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
I did growing up, and my mom lived
Well, yeah,
with my grandma, and we stayed with
yeah.
my grandma
Grandma.
all the time, but a lot of the other countries they live in intergenerationally, and they still
Yep,
do. Even
absolutely.
in Europe,
No, it's true.
I think someone still lives in my great grandmother's house in Vitel, France. That's in our
But
family.
it does. You do have to like have a balance, and you have to be respectful of everyone's wishes and then feelings. Because like my wife, now she was kind of brought up kind of she has a brother, but she was brought up as an only child. Like that's just kind of the way it was. And when she married into our family is we almost have no boundaries. So I think like one of the first times we went on a family vacation, everyone got their own hotel rooms, and I think my wife was taking a shower, and my two sisters came into our bedroom, and we're just like hanging out and talking, and she like came out of the shower and was like, what the hell's going on here? Like she'd never heard of this. One of the best stories I have about my wife and how she's like this is that she came from a relatively to do family, and she went to like a birthday party. I think she was like 7 or 8 or something, and they went to McDonald's, and the McDonald's they bought her one whoever was giving the party bought her one McDonald's, and then they also like gave fries for the table, so everyone had to like kind of share fries. And my wife was like, she didn't understand
Understand that
first of all
concept?
that concept at all. And then she like got home and she was like, Mom, they made me share fries. Like it was like, like something had happened, and where it came from, like my family, where we had like 5 of us when we were growing up, and eventually 6, where we never got our own fries. Like we were lucky to get our own hamburger.
Touch into that point, it should be a Class B felony if you're made to share fries. I'm only going to say that. I am firmly against the sharing of fries. That's what I'm putting my political campaign.
We were lucky that the fries made it home to us.
I am for building a wall around my fries. Build that wall around my fries. That's what I'm for. I'm completely 100% against the sharing of fries.
No,
anyone my dad was caught sharing fries will be sanctioned. Sanction me.
My dad was like,
yeah, Grace agrees with you. No sharing fries.
Are we rich? Are we rich? What everyone get their own fries? What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, I think to Dot's point, there might be a little bit of a difference between what you do as a parent and children, and like when you go out on a date and you order food based on how hungry you are, and the date you're on is like, oh, I just want a salad, and then I'm gonna eat half your fucking food because I don't want you to think I actually eat, even though I do, and it's like, I ordered steak and fries because that's what I wanted. If you wanted steak and fries, that's what you should have ordered. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't put a budget on this. You know.
So to elaborate on that, if I go on a date and she touches my fries, immediately the date is over. I can tell by the way you were raised that we are two different people. I don't like your level of aggression.
I used to get a taste of like everybody's food. Like
I'm highly offended.
You got the enchilada? Let me get some of that.
And I'm leaving. Skipping out on the bill. I don't belong with you people. You fry sharing, eating people. Build that wall.
You want to give me a piece of your enchilada? You want to give me some of your enchilada, brother?
Yeah.
You can have everything. You can have some of everything. But the minute you reach for my golden brown spud, oh no, this is over.
No, my issue is not with the sharing of food. My issue is when you're the one paying for dinner, and one or anybody who's getting a free dinner is like, what kind of appetizer? What's for dessert? I'm like, hey, look. Who the fuck, like, like, ask about some appetite. Like, when somebody's buying you dinner, you get to order a fucking meal. Anything above and beyond that, it's, you like, I think you're being a little unclassy by asking, but at least fucking ask. Are we doing appetizers? Okay, yeah, we can do some appetizers. Don't just start ordering shit off the menu like you're paying the goddamn tab all the time. Are you paying and order whatever the fuck you want? You know what I mean?
Or don't go directly to like the most expensive thing on the menu. Have a little bit.
Sure, that's another one. Oh, I'm not paying. How's your filet mignon? Yeah, motherfucker, it's really good. You're never gonna find out. Order some chicken, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
You go out to parents and ask for an appetizer. You better appetize your ass out of here.
Appetizer yourself.
If you start asking about appetizers, I'm guessing you're eating an appetizer instead of a main course. Okay, I mean now I really like you. You know what I mean? But if you order both, that's a whole different. Yeah.
Be like, I would like an appetizer. Be like, appetizer.
Oh, you must not be hungry. Right, Dot's ordering an appetizer. He must not be that hungry today. He's only getting an appetizer.
Appetizer. You gotta listen to hip hop. You sound like something a fry sharer would say.
Here are your potato wedges. Shut up.
Oh, that's funny. All right. So we invited Jack on the show and told him he could pick any topic he wanted to talk about today on the show. Give us all a chance to air it out on public. So he picked a topic. I'll admit.
Flat Earth.
It's we've already done flat Earth, Dot. We did that
UFOs.
one.
Hey, I was in favor of flat
It
Earth.
was a good episode.
I did give y'all 5, and I felt like y'all could have picked any of the 5.
No, that's fine. Look, he picked the one we ended up going with. I don't have a problem talking about because we'll talk about anything on the show. But for anybody who is listening, it is a hot topic for some people. Some people, it's an emotional topic. So we're going to be talking about abortion rights on the show today. If that's something you don't think you'd want to hear 4 guys talk about on the show, I completely understand.
They have there's that sentiment, that if you have a vagina, that it gives you some moral superiority on the subject, and I don't agree.
I agree. Well, I don't agree with that point either. I agree. I think that. Well, give me 1 second. We're going to jump in.
Okay.
Give me a couple of seconds. But yeah, I tend to agree with your point. I think it gives you a unique point of view that is valuable to the topic. I don't think it means that if you aren't a woman, you don't get to have an opinion on it. I think that's crazy, but a lot of people do feel that way. It's definitely true. I'll tell you, ideally, we are looking for a female voice on the show, not one that's related to us, because I think that would cause more problems than good.
Well, we can't. I think my other cousin. I think Victor saw it one time. Me and my other cousin had a pretty heated discussion about it.
Yeah. Yep. So, but we are looking for somebody. Look, we don't think that Dot is the voice of all Black people, because that's fucking ridiculous. We don't think having a woman on the show is going to make her the voice of all women. That's ridiculous as well. But it'd be a nice.
I am Morgan Freeman. I am the voice of all Black people. I am Morgan Freeman in this bitch.
I think Morgan Freeman has voiced God in 6 or 7 different movies.
Yeah, for sure. Great. But I do think it would give a unique perspective that we don't currently have on the show, and obviously one that would have been nice for this particular topic, but currently we don't have that perspective. Sorry, it wasn't by choice. That's just the way it's worked out. But I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody having an opinion and talking about it. I don't know what everybody else is going to do on the show. I imagine if last week got some ugly feedback, I'm going to be reading some posts this week, because I'm going to say what I feel, and some people are going to love it, and I'm sure other people are going to fucking hate it. That's just the way it's going to have to be. So
this is definitely a landmine.
Definitely.
But definitely. We're willing to go through. We're willing to just brave on through.
That's right. So I think, I did a little research before the show, which I don't even normally do, but I thought it would be a good idea for this one. And I think, look, this is a heated topic, and it's multifaceted, right? Because I think we think that people are pro-life or pro-choice, but I think when you start getting down to the nitty-gritty specifics of things, you might find that people, are persuaded from their standpoints when, are we talking about the morning after pill? Are we talking about the abortion pill? Are we talking about early term pregnant abortion? Are we talking about late term abortions? Are we talking about abortions when there's health issues? Are we talking about abortions when somebody's been abused or raped, right? I mean, there's so many different things that and so surprise, the 300 million people that live in this country haven't, decided what the right answer is to all those and many more other very complicated issues that come along with this topic. But we're fucking brilliant people, and we're going to make it happen today on this show. So after today, we'll have it all figured out for everybody else. Okay, no.
I did some clarification.
Yeah.
The morning after pill
is not an abortion.
It's a contraceptive. It's no different than a condom.
You're right.
So if you're already pregnant, it's not going to do anything. That's
true. The morning after pill does not end a pregnancy. It keeps a pregnancy from happening. That's
wearing a condom.
Absolutely true.
That's all it is. Just like wearing a condom, but
keeps insemination from happening.
I don't know about wearing a condom.
If she's already if she's pregnant from that night, then that morning after pill won't do anything.
Yeah,
correct.
It's not,
that's what an abortion pill does.
5 days. Yeah.
Yeah. The day after
pill is different.
Right.
That's a more expensive pill.
Wait a second.
No, when I said that's what the abortion pill does, I was saying he was saying it doesn't end pregnancy, and I was saying that's what an abortion pill ends a pregnancy that's already started.
No,
depending on what you consider pregnancy.
No, morning after pill will not.
No, it doesn't.
It will not.
Look it up. I looked it up because I knew we would have this conversation.
I talked to the pharmacist.
Look,
okay.
I talked to the pharmacist a long time ago.
still have it pulled up.
How long does it take for conception? Because
it just depends if you got strong swimmers or your swimmers are delayed. But
I mean, does it take a day for
morning
the
after
swimmers to
pill?
get there?
I don't know. I mean, it take me a long time to walk from
we go.
my bed to the bathroom. My back hurt. But when it comes to
from Planned Parenthood, I'll read it to you. The difference between morning after pill and the abortion pill. There has been considerable public confusion about the difference between the morning after pill and the abortion pill. The morning after pill, also known as the emergency contraceptive, helps prevent pregnancy. The abortion pill, also known as the medication abortion in pregnancy, according to the general medical definition of pregnancy that have been endorsed by many organizations, including the American College of Obstetricians and gynecologists and the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Pregnancy begins when a pre-embryo completes implantation into the lining of the uterus, and hormonal methods of contraceptive, including the morning after pill, prevent pregnancy by inhibiting ovulation and fertilization. The abortion pill ends a pregnancy without using instruments by helping women terminate unwanted pregnancy up to 70 days after the last menstruation. Wow. The abortion pill is a safe and effective option. So one of them prevents conception from happening, and the other one gets rid of it really early, in the really early phases of it. But the morning after pill is not considered by most scientific organizations to be something that ends a pregnancy, but stops it from happening.
Okay. It prevents pregnancy. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a contraceptive. It's just an emergency contraceptive.
And it says that you have, with the morning after pill, it reduces the risk of pregnancy when started within 120 hours or 5 days of the unprotected intercourse. And then,
but you can still get pregnant even if you take that pill.
Right. You still can, and inception, and the inception and pregnancy might happen in less than 5 days, in which case the pill's not going to do anything. Because once that's happened, this can't do anything to get rid of it. It just tries to stop that from happening. If it's already happened, you're fucked. But they're saying normally you have about 5 days before it happens, where you have where you can keep it from happening.
Hey, okay.
If your sperm is like Thanos and it's looking at the pill like, I hope they remember you.
You're like what's his name from what's the Olympic swimmer? Phelps. Yeah, if you got like Phelps like sperm, you might want to get on that shit like ASAP. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. And if you're like my kids and your sperm needs floaties, you know what I'm saying? You might have 6 days. Who knows? No.
Or just take it beforehand. Like,
sperm
hey,
can live inside
or wear a condom
for 3 days.
Right, or wear a condom.
I got some French fries and let's be clear. Pills.
Let's be clear. Tonight. There are plenty of people that, even fully aware of what the morning after pill does, still does not think that that's acceptable, because there's also people that don't think contraceptive is acceptable either, right? I mean,
that is not my position at all.
Right. There are a lot of people who have different ideals of what really, even people that are against abortion can have whole different concepts of what that is that they're against than other people can. Some people don't have a problem with the abortion pill because a lot of people consider that at that stage of pregnancy, you don't really have life yet. Other people would say life begins at the moment of conception. So you got a lot of differing
that's what I tell people that are pro-choice. I said we fundamentally have a disagreement on when life begins, because I don't think any of us can say that life doesn't matter. I think life has inherent value, or it does not.
Right.
If it does not, then because I always tell people, what Roe versus Wade said? It didn't say it wasn't life. It just said it was okay to kill it. It did not say it wasn't life.
Yeah. No, that's true.
A lot of people that are pro-choice say it's not life. I said, come on, guys. I mean, if we find microbes on Mars, we say that's life, but you're not going to say something growing inside a human being isn't.
Well, and I mean,
so technically, a swimming, living sperm is life. It just doesn't have a name like Claude.
So let's say, okay, value in human life, because it's not really human life until it's combined. So let me clarify my statement. So human life has an inherent value, or it does not. And
so
I think to me it does. I'm
Ask them Chirac monsters. Human life has no value. So
I am not.
They are for abortion.
I am not. I am not pro death penalty, because I try to be morally the same. Right. I don't think it's our place to take anyone's life. Granted, you come in my house, it's a different subject. Right. I might have to make an exception and ask forgiveness.
What about life ending, like
I may not share these fries, but I will share these rounds of ammunition.
I am pro-life in every aspect. Don't think we should kill people, murder people for
unless you come in the house.
So that includes like assisted suicide. Are you against assisted suicide as well?
I think human life has value or does not. Why does this person want to kill themselves? To me, would be the fundamental question.
Right.
Why do they want to end life? And to me, if you look at suicide rates, suicide is typically seen more heavily in more advanced cultures. The more you go into a more impoverished or a more like agrarian or culture that's growing, you don't see suicide rates as high as you do as in advanced, because we have to me, suicide is almost a thing of privilege, because you have time to literally think about that stuff.
Well, also it's a sign of privilege, because a lot of times the medical issues that people are dealing with, that we've started to come around to the idea of maybe people shouldn't have to suffer through, that are things that often are not an issue if you're not in an area that has unbelievably good, medical stuff that can keep you, you would otherwise have just died, right? But we can keep you alive.
I don't mean it as a blanket statement, because look, I think any person can say that it's crossed their mind at some point. Sure. Right. I remember being so heartbroken that I was like, I don't want to live, and I look back at it now and I'm like, what was wrong with me? Why was I so emotionally destroyed at that point? And I understand that. But I had friends help me. I actually, I went
that
to
WAP
the
will
church.
Do it every time.
I went to the church and talked to a minister, and she really helped me see past that pain, because she asked me, why do you want someone who doesn't want you? And I was like,
I think
why do I want someone who doesn't want me?
Right. I think with assisted suicide, I think most people would tend to agree that the line is drawn between, suicide due to depression, as opposed to suicide for people that are suffering horrendous, medical conditions.
I think it's scary when you start going on that slope. When you can start killing the old and start, to me, because I told Adam this when we were talking. I said, just like we are judging those people for the statues and for the slavery of the past, which I think, we see it now, we judge it from a place now. I think, it was a horrible thing. And anybody can now see in this time that to own another human being, that's a horrible, horrible thing. But I think 200 years from now, 300 years from now, people are going to look at us and see us murdering our unborn children, and look at us in the same context.
I think that's certainly a possibility.
I don't know if it is or not, but that's what I think. Because like right now, it's the issue's 50-50. You got people half and half, and then like you said, you got people very late term abortions, no. First 10 days, yes. For under 26 weeks, yes. Viability, yes. Up until viability, and viability depends on where you live. Right. Viability in Houston, Texas is different than viability in the Appalachian Mountains.
Right. No, well, look, I think that's that was something I was going to say before about abortion is, I mean, we from the time period in which we made it legal with Roe versus Wade, we've made so many progresses in the medical progresses in bringing, delivering children, right? That, a baby can be born so much sooner than it used to be able to be born and still survive and live a normal life, if not normal, at least a really good life, right? And so, where life begins, I mean, if for no other reason than the simple fact that we've realized that it's not only has it begun, but it's come as far as it needs to come much earlier in the process than we even thought was possible before. Says that the idea that what really bothers me with abortion is these hard lines in the sand where people are like, look, it's either this way or it's that way. I think it's a really complicated situation that you're talking about. I do agree that life is sacred and we should try to protect it. And what if our rules and our laws say that once a baby arrives, that convenience and what you're going through and how you feel no longer apply at all, right? Like none of those things get to be excuses for you to kill somebody. Once a baby leaves a woman's body, right? Nobody gets to say, well, this is going to be, I'm not going to get to go to school. It's going to change my life. It's going to
but see, even that measure was on the table. You saw they were trying to, where they've had late term abortions and the babies come out, and that law that they wanted to pass was to allow the baby to die, to not give it medical thing. And
there's actually at one point it was actually that the baby was not considered alive unless it made a sound.
It took its first breath.
To cry out. No, it was actually there was a breath one, but there was another one that was it was until they cried for the first time.
Pretty sure the standard today is if they can determine that because the problem with the noise one is there's only somebody there would know if the baby made noise or not. I think the legal like when they're trying to determine whether somebody's guilty of murder or the improper disposal of human remains is whether or not the baby took because they can medically determine whether there was oxygen in the lungs or not. And so I think that's the current standard. My point was not that I don't know where y'all guys thought I was going with that. My point is that if once a baby has left the mother, it has all of these rights that no longer take any of those things into consideration. Why does the fact that it's in somebody's stomach change those rights, right? I mean, they're still there. Like the fact that we can't see them makes it different. I mean, that seems a little ridiculous to me. I don't understand. Like I believe in women's rights quite a bit, but the idea of our body, our choice, it's like, well, but it's not just your body, right? I mean, there's a whole nother body involved in this that nobody like that should have rights as well. And just because they're not here to speak on their rights shouldn't necessarily take that away either. I'm sorry, but I fully appreciate the idea that being somebody who's capable of getting pregnant and having to deal with all of that and all that gives somebody a much more unique perspective that needs, and that perspective and that voice needs to absolutely be heard and appreciated in deciding these things. But the idea that that's like, because of those things, it's the only thing that matters. I mean, that's just fucking crazy. And we don't apply that to anything else. Like where we don't say like, if you can't, I don't know, I'm drawing a blank, but like in no other things do we say, if you're not somebody who's capable of doing this, then you don't get to have a say in whether it's right or wrong or not. Like that's never been the standard of humans prior to the argument about abortion. I don't understand why it seems to be like the go-to, like end all
unless you're a slave owner, you can't
right. You can't appreciate exactly how important it is to own a slave, so therefore you can't have a say in whether we should be able to own slaves. And that's not the fucking standard that we use. If you've never killed somebody before, you shouldn't be able to judge somebody who has. Like that's fucking insane. Of course you can. Like in fact, often people removed from it completely can make the less emotional, argument. Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
And I've thought a lot about this, and that's why I told you, what do we define as a person? When is it a person? Is it a person, like you said, once it crosses the into our world? Does that mean that if she's 9 months pregnant and as long as it hasn't come out, I can take a knife and stab it through the head and that's not murder? I don't think so. Is it viability? Is it heartbeat? I don't know. To me, I do have exceptions. I believe if it's medically necessary, absolutely. And I really don't find too many pro-life people that are against that. We understand that if the mother or the child that it's medically necessary, we're going to lose one, then the decision has to be made. I think if the woman is going to commit suicide because she's pregnant, I get it. So that to me falls under medically necessary. But I think you're right. Life has value or it doesn't, and at what point is it life?
Right.
I think that's the fundamental disagreement.
Right. It's the same thing with like women who are pregnant because they've been sexually abused or molested, like forcing a woman to go through.
That is always an outlier. That is always an outlier. And if you look at like the stats from Planned Parenthood, reported stats. Okay, let's go with that. Reported stats, because we really don't know. But the reported stats show that the percentage that fall in the category are a small percentage.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm talking about because I tell people, what if we say I don't agree with it, but what if we say rape and incest? All other ones are abortions illegal. They always go, well, no. Okay, well, you're making a false argument. The only reason you're bringing that up is to get me to concede my moral point on the value of life. And I don't. It's just so disheartening to see that especially to me, I look at it and it's so race based. If you look at, you talk about being race, you talk about look at the amount of abortions by race. There are about 1 million abortions done every year. 33% are done in the African American community. So 33% of the million abortions from a population is at 13%. To me, if you look at that, you're like, wow. And then if you look at Planned Parenthood, you look at who founded Planned Parenthood, you look at the Klan rally she attended, Planned Parenthood has killed more black babies than the KKK ever dreamed.
Yeah, but that's not gonna. I mean, I think if you look at the larger picture there, that's gonna have less to do with race, and it's almost always gonna have to do with economics.
Look at where they're at.
No, the actual history of the lady who actually brought the concept of Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's really bad. Like, she was literally bringing it about to lessen the amount of black babies in the world,
which is horrible.
And I think they normalized it. I think they normalized it, and they've gotten us to kill our own.
Right, but we know.
If you look at the evil, look at where just take a look. Look at where the Planned Parents are at.
Right,
they're
in places of low economic,
go look in the rich areas of San Antonio. See if you can find some Planned Parenthood.
But that's what I'm saying. My point is in this country to suggest that when you see something that has a higher standard in different racial categories, that it's not normally because there's a huge, massive difference between the wealth of white people and the wealth of,
white people get the other three. White people get the other 300,000. So
right, but I'm saying percentage-wise, the reason you're going to see a higher percentage of things like that, abortions and other things in areas where you're talking about a high group of minority people is almost always going to be because a high group of minority people also have a much higher chance of not having access to as much money and as resources as
Hispanics are in almost the same demographic, and you don't see the numbers that you see with African Americans. I don't know if it's because of a majority of Hispanics are Catholic, but they're in the same impoverished conditions, and you don't see Hispanics aren't 33%. That's what I'm saying. To me, like Victor said, the lady who founded it, if you research it, it's horrible.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah, it's really bad. They've actually started taking out. They started taking out stuff from Planned Parenthood that
tied it to her.
Yeah,
right. Which is good.
They used to have her picture and a memorial to what she was and everything in every Planned Parenthood, and they've started taking them out.
Yeah, I've been to Planned Parenthoods, not for that reason. The idea of what it should be, regardless of what she founded it for. I mean, the idea that people who don't. There has to be an understanding of the fact that not everybody grew up in a family like I did that have all the resources that I had to figure out, what I would want to do in a situation like that, to have lots of different options to go to in a situation like that. Some people really are on their own, and a lot of these people are young people. A lot of these people are people that grew up in areas where they might not have had access to the same levels of education and resources that everybody else did. And to just leave those people out there wondering on their own to figure it out is not acceptable. If y'all want to get rid of Planned Parenthood and start another clinic that isn't founded by a racist white woman, I'm down for that. That's fine, but that resource certainly needs to be there.
They aren't on their own. There are so many options still available to low-income people. I mean, the nation has made it available. I mean,
I don't think you understand. When I say on their own, as somebody who comes from the type of family and situation that you come from, I don't think you know what I mean by on your own. When you're 17, 16, 18 years old, you don't know everything that you and I know today. And if I got into a situation where I felt like I was helpless and had no decisions, I had people I could turn to. Not everybody has that. And when you're not sure what it is you're supposed to do, and you're in a situation that's going to massively affect your life and the life of the baby, and you're trying to figure out what the right thing to do is, that's not something a 17-year-old should be doing by themselves. And it's not something that a 17-year-old should be doing based on information that they're getting from other 18, 17, 19-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? There needs to be a resource for people to reach out to.
That's usually how they end up at the Planned Parenthood, because they listen to another 17 or 18-year-old.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
I think all our problems, a lot of our problems, is we've progressed such a society, and I think this is one of them. We've increased adolescence in responsibility of choices and taken it away from almost everyone. You have children that can now stay on their parents' insurance till they're 26. Where if you look in the you look at our parents, who at 26 already had 3-4 kids, were already established in their careers and developed as adults. We've increased adolescence. We've removed responsibility. Look, I am pro-choice in many regards. I am pro-abstinence. I am pro-contraceptive. I am pro-adoption, and I'm pro being a parent. I mean, you have to understand, and I don't think there's any 60-year-old. If you have unprotected sex, the result could be a baby.
Yeah, so that's taught in schools.
It's not in a lot of schools anymore. That's not true. In a lot of schools, it's not. A lot of time, no, abstinence only is taught in a lot of places in this country. We don't do nearly as good of a job on sex education as we used to. And if we're going to talk about our parents being how responsible our parents were at such a young age, then we should also talk about the fact that since abortion has been legalized, crime rates 20 years later dropped massively in ways that can only be related to the fact that babies born into really bad situations, or that could have been born into really bad situations, often weren't, right? And it didn't lead to 18, 20 years later, people that grew up in bad families and bad situations.
I don't think that
led them
to attribute something better to society makes it okay to kill someone.
I'm not saying it does. I'm not saying it does.
That just because
I'm not saying it does, but I am saying if we're going to argue about how responsible our parents were 40, 50 years ago when they were 2023, a lot of them weren't as well. Some of them were. Some of them did a great, amazing job. Some of them didn't.
Look, I'm a prime example. I was in the military, came home, got my girlfriend pregnant. Did it cross our mind? Maybe for a second, but I couldn't do that. That's why I'm 47 with a 27-year-old, and 26-year-old 2 years later, or 20. She's 25.
God love you for trying to keep up.
So
look,
okay, so just so you know, 30 states and the District of Columbia require public schools to teach sex education, 28 of which mandate both sex education and HIV education.
Okay, so that's 30 out of 50. So that's a little more than half. That's a little more than half.
I think
39 states in the District of Columbia require students receive instruction.
39. Okay, 39. Still, that's
our responsibility. That's our responsibility as parents too.
Yeah,
look, when our kids reach start going through puberty, that's when we, or even before, we know they're about to. That's our responsibility to tell them.
Sure.
Hey, kids come from sex.
Right, but we also know
here's a box of condoms. If you're gonna do it, I know you.
We also know
for
a fact. We also know for a fact that when we have good sex education courses for teenagers in school, that unplanned pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases go down considerably. Like, we know this for a fact. We've done study after study that says that kids are going to have sex. We know that that's going to happen, that we haven't figured out any way to stop that, and that the best thing that we can do is teach them what happens when you have sex, what the consequences are, and how to protect yourself from those consequences. And in a lot of places are still fighting to keep that from happening. And in those places, there's more teen pregnancies than there are in places where we teach kids about being safe and not trying. My
parents did a great job. I was scared to have sex when I was 14 through 16. I don't care what everybody said.
I wasn't ever scared to have sex, but I was scared to do it unprotected. Like, literally scared to death of it. There were a couple of times where I started to and was like, I can't. How, that's some fucking fear when you're having sex and you're like, I can't do this. That's fear, man. I'm telling you right now, that's fear. That takes some fucking fear.
I think my parents were like, condoms are 95% effective, and that 5%, that's you.
Yeah.
No, look, I think if look, is it going to work sometime? Sure, maybe, but I trying to scare kids not to have sex. I mean, that we have tried.
Those are all preventative measures. I'm talking about after the fact.
Right.
After the fact, I mean, when is it a person? I mean, to me, I look at scientifically, and then I can't take my faith out of anything, because to do that is just wrong.
Well,
and I try to live my principles by the utmost.
But to be clear, your faith. There's nowhere in the Bible that actually, of course, that could arguably be.
There are several places in the Bible where he says he knew you in the womb before you were born. He gave you purpose before.
Yeah, but that's a big.
But that's based on it. I take everything to the New Testament and what Jesus taught us. Treat other people as you want to be treated. I wouldn't want to be aborted, right? I wouldn't want to be killed in the womb.
But I would still argue that there could be a good faith argument that even keeping anything that Jesus or the Bible said sacred does not necessarily mean that stuff like. Yeah, and obviously you said you're not against contraceptive. The morning after pill and the abortion pill could hypothetically still fall within those ranges. I mean, I'm
not. If you take God out of it, because the only part that should bother an atheist is to love the God our Father. What is wrong with treating other people as you want to be treated?
I don't think that atheists don't believe that you shouldn't do that. In fact, I would argue that atheists think that you should do that despite the fact that there isn't somebody telling you to do it, right? I think the argument for atheism, not everybody, mind you, some people might like atheism because it gives them the right to do whatever the fuck they want to. But I think the majority of people that don't believe in God think that there's something even more. Not that there's anything wrong with religion. I'm not an atheist, but I recognize the beauty in the idea that we can be human beings without having somebody bigger and more powerful than us saying this is the right thing to do, and still recognize that there are things that we should, there's certain ways that we're supposed to treat each other, and we can just do that because we know it's right.
But then there's no moral law. If you're a true atheist, I'm not saying you can't be moral to be an atheist, but I'm saying if you're true to atheism as what it is, then you define your own world. You define your own laws.
Or society does. Or society does.
Well, no, if there is no God and we're all chemicals and you define your own reality because there is nothing afterwards, then if you decide today to feed the poor, then great. But if tomorrow you decide to kill that poor person, well, if you define your reality, that's fine too. If you're a true atheist, the most true atheist statement I've ever written, I forgot it, it's pretty famous. It's like, today my mother died, or was it yesterday? I don't know. Because if there's nothing after, then nothing really matters.
I don't agree with that. There doesn't have to be something after this for me to wholeheartedly believe in the fact that based on my human experience, that the right thing to do is to treat people the way I want to be treated. Like, I don't need something else to tell me that that's the case. And I don't need there to be consequences in a life after this for me to feel that way. And I don't think a lot of people do.
That comes from Judeo-Christian principles.
That's not true. That's not true. Before Judeo-Christian religions existed, there were people before that treated people that it wasn't complete and utter anarchy before before the invention, or before, I shouldn't say.
No, but there was a lot of murder and a lot of
yes,
right.
that's true.
Yes, there were.
But even the Romans, the most advanced society, killed people in the arena.
Some people.
One of the spoils of war was that you got to rape the women.
Some people, absolutely. I will tell you this as somebody who's owned his own business, right? And I know it's not the same thing, but there is a large percentage of people that will do exactly what you make them do, and will be exactly as good as you make them be. And otherwise, we're going to just do whatever they want to do. There's a large percentage of people that are like that. And there are a large percentage of people that self-govern and say, you know what, I don't need somebody to tell me that this is wrong. I know it's wrong. I'm not going to do it. I don't need somebody to tell me that this amount of work needs to be done by the end of the day. I know it needs to be done. My boss doesn't need to tell me that. Even if he told me it didn't need to be done, I could get it done. I'm going to do it.
I don't. Where does it come from? For me, you know where it comes for me. I'm talking about me. For me,
yeah,
it comes from my work ethic comes from my grandfather and our grandfather. I used to go sit in his garage and watch him work, and I would sit there and work with him, and that's where my work ethic. And he worked hard. When we were young, he was old, and he would still be out there fixing cars. That's where my work ethic came from.
Right.
My belief in God came more recently, even though I grew up going to church with them. I grew up as a Catholic. I went to Catholic school. Victor went to Catholic school. He went to the one down the street. We went to the same church. But I never really, I don't know if I ever truly believed. I went through the motions. I heard the stories. But it was something that changed me. But that's why I say I take religion out of it. I don't.
To me, it comes from. I think it comes from empathy.
As you want to be treated is the ultimate thing.
I think that for me, I don't think. Despite the fact that I am spiritual and I do believe that there's something bigger than us, and to me it just kind of seems obvious, but I don't follow any strict religious guidelines or anything. That's just what I've come to believe based on my time. But the way I treat people, I don't think has anything to do. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that I think there's something bigger out there. I don't think it has anything to do with what I'm afraid is going to happen after this, or what I want to have happen after this. I think it's empathy. Like, I empathize with people. I know what it's like to experience things myself. I know what they are probably going through when I see them experience it. And when it's something that I know I didn't like, I don't want to see somebody go through that. It's empathy. Empathy is what.
See, I think that is why Christ came, because you shouldn't do things out of fear. It should be a choice. I should want to treat someone like I want to treat myself. I should, like you said, I should be fearful that if I don't, I'm going to hell, or to me, not necessarily hell, the absence of God. I think that's the beauty of it. I think I always ask people, do you know what God's greatest gift to us was besides Jesus? You know what God's greatest gift? It's each other. We just fail to use it. We fail to use each other. If we wanted to, we could feed the world.
Sure.
If we wanted to, we could take care of all those unplanned babies. If we wanted.
And that's the saddest thing about religion is how often
religion's bad. Religion can be bad. I agree with you. Religion can be.
It shouldn't be, but that's the thing. I don't think it's not religion that's bad. It's what we use it. It's how we use it that's bad. Like, that's
greed and power.
What's upsetting about religion is that most of its guiding principles of almost any religion says quite the opposite, right? It says this person might not be doing what they're supposed to be doing, but you're supposed to love and care for them anyways. Almost all religions say that. I don't know of any religion that says if this person doesn't do what we think they're supposed to do, you should hate them, you should kill them, you should not want to. No.
You don't have to approve of their actions. Because people
somewhere in the Quran.
Yeah, but
somewhere in the Quran it does say that, but it's one of the parts that it's like the Old Testament of the Quran.
I read that he changed. He changed over time. Because Muhammad wrote, "Do no harm to others." Then Muhammad wrote, "Defend yourself." And then the last part, Muhammad wrote, "Kill the infidel." So
the infidel.
Which Muhammad is it? And that's why that's what led me to Christ. Because I like
to believe that it's kind of like the Old Testament of the Quran. It's like, okay, we have these ideals, and then we're like, okay, well, now we have these ideals. We really shouldn't be going that far, because I think even the Bible has an eye for an eye. I mean, that's not
the Old
necessarily
Testament.
Good. Yes,
you're
right.
That's the Old Testament. That's before Jesus came.
I completely agree.
Right, and even an eye for an eye doesn't suggest that you're supposed to hate people that are different than you. Even an eye for an eye is very specific. I mean,
it says a whole bunch of stuff in the Old Testament.
That was my point.
Non-believers, you're not supposed to have anything
wear
to do with non-believers.
Wear the same cloth. You stone people, and that's what I tell people. Look, I follow Christ, and I'm trying to follow his teachings, and I don't have to approve of what you do, but I still have to love you. I still have to love the Muslim. I still have to love the Hindu. I still have to love the homosexual. I still have to love
You're supposed to have love for
the murderer, the thief, the adulterer, all of them. Right? It's not a choice. If you are, you're hypocritical.
I like the God is the only judge. I don't judge anybody. I love them no matter
what they
are.
Vengeance is mine, says
you don't have to approve. I don't have to approve of what you do, but I'm not judging you. I still love you. I mean, look at our children. We don't always approve of their choices. You still love them.
Right.
Absolutely. 100%.
Right. You might not approve it. Hey, I don't approve that you didn't study and got a bad grade, but I still love you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I don't, and what really hit me home is one of my friends, she told me her son's homosexual, and that he looked at her and he said, "Mama, I don't want to be homosexual. I just don't know how not to be." And to me, it was an epiphany in that God says we all have a cross to bear, and maybe that's his cross, and he can't bear it. And who am I to judge him?
Right. Not to mention, like, isn't it always surprising that like people who, I mean, that's the other thing I really don't like about people that are really, not everybody, a lot of people that deem themselves very religious, and it's like, I hate homosexuals because that's not, because it's against my religion. But like, there's a lot of things that are against your religion that you don't seem to have any problem with whatsoever, right? That's the one you've chosen to be adamantly against. But other shit, people kind of, they can pick and choose the parts of their religion that they don't and like and don't like, and they can be as adamant a supporter about one thing as they want to be, and as dismissive about another part of their religion as they want to be. And it's like, that's not religion. That's just you doing whatever the fuck you want to do and using religion to try to make it okay. That's not the same thing. Like, there's a difference between following a set of rules and using the fact that somebody made some rules once a long time ago to make yourself feel better about it.
In the Bible, Jesus says, beware of false prophets. And that's what the Bible can be used to almost prop up almost any argument or any terrible thing. And you have to be wary of that being a possibility. I mean, you have to keep your eyes open and your heart open.
It's a compilation of books, right? And what Bible? The Catholic Bible? The King James Version Bible. That's why there's only 4 Gospels, really. Everything to me is historical context that is derived from God through man, and man is fallible. So to me, the 4 Gospels are the true message, right? And if you read the Sermon on the Mount, it's one of the most ethical things ever written. Take religion out of it, and the 2 greatest lessons. If you follow those, it's the 10 Commandments. Right. And the only part, like I said, the only part an atheist should have a problem with is the first part. Love the God our Father. Treating other people as you want to be treated. That is the ultimate.
I think atheists, I mean, I know atheists. I don't think atheists have a problem with religion. They're just honest about the fact that it's not what they believe. It's like they've come to a point where based on their life experience, they don't believe that there's an afterlife. They think this is it. Nothing has taught me otherwise. I believe that, I was born one day, I'm going to die one day, and that's it. And there's nothing else to it.
Do they believe in love? Do they believe in love? Love is intangible. Love can't be proven by science.
But
if you're a true atheist,
doesn't have to be one or the other, right?
Do you love your children? Or are you just responsible to your children?
But that doesn't like, if you choose to believe in certain things that can't be proven, it doesn't mean that you have to believe in everything that isn't proven, because there's lots of ridiculous stuff that hasn't been proven that people believe in. And just because I believe in love or believe in a higher power doesn't mean that I also have to believe that the world is flat, or that, what I mean? Like, there's lots of things.
That's a prime example. Science is, if you believe in science, like I say, I believe in science. Science is always changing, right? And if you were born in the 1500s, you'd be, the Earth is flat. What do you think the Earth is round? You're a moron. What do you mean that the universe revolves around the sun? It obviously revolves around the Earth.
Right.
I mean, to me,
pregnancy, you can now have 2 glasses of wine a day during pregnancy.
Look,
so versus no alcohol, but
I'm not an atheist, but I gotta say, I think I give a lot of respect to somebody that can go through life being a decent human being and continually trying to be a decent human being with the wholehearted belief in the fact that I'm not going to get rewarded for this. I'm not going to get punished for not doing this. And there's nothing, like, all I have is this period of time to do what I can do, and that's it. And to live like to believe that and to be a good and decent human being, I think that there's something that
I think it's
something to that.
I think it's extremely harder to go through life trying to be a good person without the belief that there's
most of them do. I don't think most atheists that I've met are not bad people.
Yeah, but you see if you look at the population, the statistics where the atheists are born, where are they? They're in the U.S., they're in the EU, because the fastest growing Christian population right now is in Africa, is in China. That is where the most Christians are being grown. And you look at the EU, and you look at the US, and how we're derived, and the principles this country was derived on. That's what I was telling you about the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is directly taken from a sermon that a preacher gave.
Well, certainly the founders of our country.
Hold on. We have a good question from one of our listeners, and it's actually one that I had extreme trouble with when I was a child. And it says, what about people who have never heard of Christ or atheism? Are they damned? I don't believe they are.
I don't think they are either.
Now, this was weird because this was during my Catholic CCD classes or whatever.
The church never said.
My teacher actually, we had a question about similar to this. It said that, what about people who've never heard of Christ? And my teacher, and granted, he was not the end all and be all of the Catholic Church, but he said that people that don't believe in Christ actually go to heaven first because they never had the chance to be told about Christ and for them to actually have a choice of whether or not to follow. It's like an unborn child, never having the chance to actually have known. They actually go to heaven first.
You'd be surprised at who's going to be there.
Man, that was hard for me to take.
I think you'd be surprised who's going to be in heaven. I don't think all Hindus. I think you'll see Hindus. There'll be Muslims. There'll be Buddhists. I think, this is, for me, my religion is, for me, it's how I have chosen to live. I believe, and that's after I've done a bunch of research. And there's beautiful things in every religion. There's beautiful things in Buddhism. There's some beautiful things in Buddhism. And to me, Buddhism is more a philosophy than a religion. There's some things in Muslims, but it is a religion of acts, but none of them say that we should kill. Really, none of them say that we should take another human life. That human life has inherent value, and that's why I feel the way I do about abortion. I feel like, we either see value in human life or we don't.
Well, I used to be extremely pro-choice. I used to feel strongly that my choice would be pro-life, but I believe strongly in pro-choice. And bringing Dot back in real quick. That said, as I've gotten older, my what's the word I'm looking for? Because like I said, I've always been pro-choice, but my choice being pro-life, right? And so, welcome back, Dot. But the idea being that while I would never do that, I could appreciate and be tolerant of other people's decision. I will say the older I've gotten, the less tolerant to the idea of pro-choice I've become. And I think that while there are certain situations that make sense to me, while I think that there is a certain time prior to what I think the majority of pro-lifers think is when life begins, to where it wouldn't bother me specifically. For the most part, a baby's a baby, and I don't feel like there's any argument that anybody can make for me why it would be okay to kill a baby. So if it's a baby inside the womb, I don't see much of a difference in that, and I don't think that whether that you're.
I think everybody tries to demonize it and say yes, because I think there are reasons that are medically necessary. Absolutely, I think everyone can agree on that. But I think when you see the egregiousness, I don't know if you ever watched Steven Crowder. I watch Steven Crowder sometimes. He went to an abortion clinic, late term abortion clinic, and undercover, and talks to a lady, and she's at like 32 weeks. And she's just having it. He asked her why, and she just says she just thought about it, and she doesn't think she can afford another kid.
Yeah.
That 32 weeks. I mean, she waited 32 weeks.
Right. That's the part that really starts to bother me. Like, you want to get it done early, like when, before there's fingers in a brain and shit like that, when there's cells dividing in an egg, some people might feel that that's the beginning of life and you shouldn't, and fine, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But to me, that's not life. I mean,
I think every pro-choice person should watch Unplanned. I don't know if you've ever heard of Unplanned. It's kind of been pushed down. It's by Abby Johnson, who went to Texas A&M. She lives here in Houston, actually. She was the youngest Planned Parenthood director ever. I guess the youngest Planned Parenthood director, I guess at that time. Very young Planned Parenthood director. She was Planned Parenthood Director of the Year. And she said I think that if you watch the movie, spoiler alert, like the defining moment is when she was asked to come in and do a ultrasound assisted abortion, and that's where the doctor is in there and he's got the vacuum and he's tearing the baby apart, and they've got the ultrasound so he can watch so he can see like where to vacuum at, and she watched as the baby was trying to move away from the doctor and the instruments. Man. And she said that's what changed her. That is what where she's I don't know if you see her, she's all over the place now. She gives speeches. She spoke at the Republican convention. She is one of the most prominent pro-life people. They hate her. The Planned Parenthood hate her.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Or that's what I'm getting at. As there are some special situations, and to your point earlier, they're not the majority of what's happening, right? Like people with health issues, people where you're talking about people who've been molested or raped. That's not the majority of people having abortions, and that's true. But those things do happen, right? And I think that part of where we go wrong is us wanting to draw these abortion is wrong, period.
I think it was what you said earlier before I got on. Life's gray. Right. I mean, we should have some defining rules, but life is gray, right? Yeah. It's not black and white. It's not always black and white, but I think we have an inherent to protect the innocent.
Yeah.
And those they didn't have any choice. The choice was that's why I said our society's gotten to a point where we make excuses for people and allow them to make decisions with no consequences. There are no consequences. Let's forgive student death. Me and my daughter were arguing about it when she got here.
We did that on this show.
I said, that is completely, to me, egregious. I said, you chose to go to college. You chose to incur that debt. Why should someone who decided, I can't afford it, I'm going to start working, why should they pay for your choices? Right. I said, if that's the case, then every United States citizen should get $50,000.
Yeah.
That's fair, right? Yeah. Fair is fair. I don't agree that you made a choice to get something that's going to allow you to make more money than that person who didn't go to college. Statistically,
me.
No, that's not saying, because there's some people who don't go to college that do very well. But
me,
that's
no. I mean, I'm not rich or anything, but I didn't go to college. We've done all right for ourselves. But despite how well I've done for myself, I think I would have done better with a college education. And at the times when it made sense 100%. In my life, I wasn't in a position either financially or time wise to do it. And the fact that I should be giving my really hard earned money to people who did get to go to college, that pisses me off a lot. Like the idea that pisses me off. Like I would, if it was free, I would have fucking gone. Like no doubt about it.
It could have been because I tell people, even if you look at the EU, you want to go to college for free, you have to work for the state.
Yeah.
And you have to test into college. Not everybody gets to go.
Right. I don't mind us,
or you have to serve the military. You serve the military over there.
I don't mind us coming up with ways to make college free for people moving forward. I mean, I'm not somebody who thinks just because I didn't get something that we shouldn't make the future better for people. Like, that's a shitty way to live your life. Like, I didn't get it. Why should anybody else get it? But there's a difference between us deciding moving forward to start giving more options for people to go to college for free, and looking back and saying we're going to erase what everybody's already done and make other people pay for that mistake. That seems crazy to me. Like, if we want to come up with programs to send our kids to college because we know that education is a fundamental building block in a good free society, then let's come up with good ways to do that. And I'm all for it. And I will pay. I don't even mind paying for that. But you're saying that I have to go back and pay for people my age, right, who got to go to college. Yeah, I mean, like, that's fucking crazy to me. Like, why the fuck did I have to pay?
What about me?
Right, I have to pay for you to go to college. I didn't even get to go, and I got to fucking pay your bill? Like, what the fuck is that? That's crazy to me. That's crazy.
I have a degree. I don't have any student debt. Should I get $50K too?
Right. I mean, we either need to go back and like you said, if we relieve college debt, then the people who didn't get to go to college should get something. So, either give me some money or pay some of my other fucking debt off. You get some free college debt. Yeah, pay off some of my fucking credit cards. We'll call it even. I'm down for that. You know what I mean? Like, everybody gets $60,000 worth of debt wiped out. I'm down for that shit. I'll vote for that.
I incurred the debt. I got the loans. I paid them back. I did the whole bit. If they now you don't have to pay them back. I want some cash too, because I did the right thing. Don't I get something?
That's what I'm saying. There's a lack of
right. What about the people who did not only? Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. Not just people that didn't get to go to college. What about the people that went and paid the fucking debt already? Like, well, how the fuck is that fair to them either? Like, they actually sacrificed and paid off their fucking loans, and they're just shit out of luck because you didn't. Like, that's fucking crazy. I mean, come on, let's be honest. There are some unique situations, but if you did go and get a 4-year fucking degree in college, then the truth of the matter is the only reason you didn't pay off your fucking loans is because you weren't willing to take a job that you could have fucking gotten. Because if you have a college degree in this fucking country, you can get a fucking job making enough money to pay your fucking loans back.
Depends on the degrees, because some of these people, like seriously, you get a degree.
That's not true, man. Art history. You got jobs that will ask for a bachelor's degree and pay you fucking $17, $18 an hour.
You're right. You're right.
And like, there's no way.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying that you would get to take any job you want. Yeah. Right. I'm not saying it wasn't that you'd have to take a job that was outside of the field you wanted to go into, or a job you might have showed up and had to fucking hate every day, like I fucking do every goddamn day. You know what I'm saying?
Telecommunication
it doesn't, but there are plenty of jobs that only require you to have a 4-year degree that play. And again, am I talking $70,000, $80,000 a year? No, but enough money for you to fucking live, fucking eat and have a roof over your fucking head and pay off the fucking loan you said you were going to fucking pay off.
There are plenty of jobs. They don't even care what your degree is in.
Exactly.
That's why you have a degree. But it's just lack of common sense. I mean, are you going to go to Baylor? My daughter went to Baylor. My daughter, she's at U of H Law School right now. She went to Baylor. It's $52,000 a year. Okay. You don't go to Baylor and be a teacher.
Right.
Agreed. Don't incur $208,000 debt and then go be a school teacher. Right? I mean, just.
That's the thing about doing the higher education. You have to balance it out with your trajectory as far as your goals go.
What are you going to do, right? If you're going to go to Baylor, then you better have a career plan that is going to land you a job.
Right. But those
$80,000 a year, right?
Right. But isn't there something to the idea, like, when you hear somebody go, I went to Harvard and yet I decided to become a teacher, and it's like this whole holier than I passed up all these good jobs. Right, exactly. Right, like you made that fucking choice, and if you want to,
people who didn't go to college and became entrepreneurs, and they cracking over like $300,000-$400,000 a year.
Design an app. Go design an app. Go design an app.
If things had gone a little bit more my way in a couple of things I did, I would have been making $250,000, $300,000 a year, and I didn't go to college. And there are absolutely paths to that. They are not as easy as the paths to that if you have a college degree. And more importantly, it's not the $350 million a year jobs that you can get. It's the middle class jobs that become a whole lot easier to get if you have a 4-year degree. Being a manager of a fucking Chili's or some shit. Is it a passion project for people? Fuck no. Is it a job you show up to every day going, oh boy, I get to be a man? No, but it pays the goddamn bills, and you can get that fucking job if you have a college degree. And a lot of people that don't have college degrees, despite the fact that they learned absolutely nothing in college that's going to teach them how to manage goddamn Chili's, are never going to even get a chance to have that fucking job.
Right.
And that's why a 4-year degree is helpful.
Like $22 to $26 an hour for managers.
Yeah, Bucky's is ridiculous.
Right.
That's freaking awesome.
Right.
Man.
I mean, you can get good jobs with a 4-year degree that pay. Again, is it the job you want? Maybe not. But guess what? The people that didn't go to college are stuck in jobs they don't fucking want either. And why is it that I have a job where I'm making enough money that I could be paying off my college loans if I had them, and you have a college degree and you can't fucking do that bullshit? I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. The job I have right now, I've done a lot of amazing fucking things that hopefully at some point I'll get to a point where I will use that experience for a better fucking job, right? But none of that shit got me the job I have right fucking now. Anybody could get the job, not anybody. A lot of people could get the fucking job I have right now, and it is more than enough fucking money to pay back loans and live a decent fucking life. Now, you want to get married and have 4 fucking kids, make sure you marry somebody else who has a decent fucking job, right? But but there's nothing wrong with that either. Like if you like, and my point that I was trying to make before is, if you're gonna put yourself out there is like this amazing person that despite having this major degree, you did something altruistic like teaching. Well, you did, like the point that you're trying to make everybody is that you made these huge sacrifices to be a teacher. Well, you don't get to be that person if you don't make the fucking sacrifice. If your sacrifice of paying for a really expensive school and then going to college is that I have to pay for your fucking college bill, then you didn't make some big fucking sacrifice. I made the sacrifice. You just did what you wanted to fucking do.
Yeah, right. And there's another good point on our comments. Grace, thanks again for commenting, taking part. It would never get better for the next generation if everyone wanted what they think they are owed. If we continue to pay or even think about paying for the people that are in position to already pay, then how do we get any better for the next generation?
Agreed.
Look at right now. We're going trillions and trillions, and look, I'm benefiting from it. I've got 3 small children. I get $600 every month. But did these people not take basic economics? Do they not know an influx of class is going to cause more ability to buy products? So if you buy more products, there's less demand, which causes inflation. I'm like, why do they continue to just keep pumping money into the system?
Well, I mean,
do they not understand that a surplus here,
what they're saying
is going to create huge demand?
And I'm not saying I disagree with it, but what they're saying is that studies of what's happened in the past have shown that our belief in the idea that the government pumping the economy full of money would lead to mass inflation and the devaluation of the dollar, that in fact that's not what's happened in the past. That time and time again,
that goes against all economics since we've ever understood the beginning of economics.
Except that
trickle down theory.
Right, except what they're saying is it doesn't. It goes against.
It creates a dependency on the government.
That's true.
Yes.
Well, that's a whole different argument. That is a legitimate one. Which is a legitimate argument. But what they're saying is that it actually does. It goes against the history of what we've suggested would happen if we did it, but does not go against the history of what has happened when we've done it in the past.
What I know is, my gas was $1.86
we did in the past
6 months ago, and now it's like $3.
Look, I'm with you. I don't have a problem with the stimulus package. There were people in this country who, by no fault of their own,
I mean, I'm benefiting from it, but I don't think we should do it. I mean,
well, that's my issue. Is I didn't need it. I didn't need it. People that needed it should have gotten it. There were people by no fault of their own, by no decision of their own, right? By decisions that was made by the government, which I agree with. Some people on the show don't, but I agree with some of the decisions that were made. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. They made the decisions. People had to go home. People had to lose their fucking jobs. They had no choice in it. It had nothing to do with how well they planned. I mean, come on.
That goes to accountability and choices. Look, if people you get the vaccine, look, I've got.
We tell people that they should have 3 months worth of savings.
Yeah, but
that wouldn't have done the trick.
Shot. I haven't got the second shot because I got really sick off the first shot. I need to go get the second shot. I just haven't done it because I'm really scared because I felt like I was going to almost die. But look, if you have the vaccine, then why do you care if someone doesn't? Like
right.
It's a personal choice. It's a personal choice to go out, right? I know the risk. I know that if I'm unvaccinated and I go out and I've had COVID now. I know what that risk is. There's no accountability for poor choices. Before this happened, you could die from the flu. I didn't know that many people died from the flu. 60,000 people died.
Yeah, but when did it become like un-American to ask your fellow Americans to make sacrifices for the better of the country? We've been doing that since the beginning of the country, and nobody has ever complained about it the way they do now. I mean, we asked people to donate their gold. We asked people to sacrifice their food. We asked people not like we do now. Not like we do now. People lined up to donate their gold. All the money that's in that I don't know if it's still there, but all the money.
Where are the numbers? I mean, like you said,
my problem is that the new Delta variant or whatever, that people that have the vaccine can still carry it home to their kids.
Yeah, and get their kids sick. Yeah. Right, and you're telling. So what you're saying is, I shouldn't.
Then what's the point of the vaccine if you can get it regardless if you have it?
I'll tell you, the problem is because if everybody had gone and gotten vaccinated like they were supposed to,
I think it's like the flu.
It is.
I think it's
but
like
what do viruses do? Mutate.
They evolve.
Right, but they need to be able. They need to be able to pass to mutate.
Look at the mindset. No matter what, and that's a successful media ploy to create a mindset where you can blame something.
Use scientific information.
No, it's not about scientific information.
Why is it not? It's coming from the CDC. Why is it not scientific information?
We said the same thing. Whose fault is it? Because there's a new variant? The virus itself mutating, right? Because that's what viruses do. No, it's like saying guns don't kill people. It's like saying guns kill people. No, people kill people.
Yeah, but you're making the opposite. You're making the opposite argument. You're not saying. You're saying guns kill people. You're saying
who should have gotten vaccinated.
Right.
That caused the virus to mutate. And that's bananas.
The argument you're making is that it's the guns that kill people. You're arguing that it's the guns and not the people. You're making the opposite argument.
What I was saying was that people kill people, not the guns. That's like saying a virus.
Right. It's not the virus. It's the people not getting vaccinated for the virus.
That caused the virus to mutate, right?
Am I not wrong? Is he making the opposite argument that he thinks he's making?
No, I understand what he's saying. He's basically saying
you were saying that the virus mutated because not everybody got vaccinated.
Right. Saying it's the people, not the virus.
You're
saying it's the virus.
Right. Right.
Boy, yeah.
Right. So the other argument. Hold on, real quick. Let's just be
first in the lab. But
okay. So before we go down the rabbit hole, let's be really quick here. So in the other analogy where it's guns,
let's slow it down.
I want to try to understand the argument. So you're saying in the other.
No, what I'm saying specifically is that you said because the people who did.
I know what I said. That is what I said, and I 100% agree with it. So now let's make the analogy to guns, where we say that it's guns.
Okay, before we go to the guns, let me state my point before we go to guns, because the guns is just an analogy. The analogy doesn't even have to be
opposite analogy, though. Okay,
right?
All right.
Let me state the point. The fact that I was making is that it's not the people who did not get vaccinated that caused the variant.
It's the virus.
It's the virus doing
Okay.
what the virus does.
Okay. For argument's sake, let's say you're right. Can you call the virus up and tell it to stop doing that? Because if not,
you look at any wait,
that
doesn't mutate. Why do you think you get a flu vaccine?
I don't give a shit if it vaccinates.
It mutates. The motherfucker mutates.
Again,
that's what the virus does.
The point of not spending 20 minutes arguing about whether a virus mutates or not, because it doesn't fucking matter. My point.
Blame people who didn't get vaccinated.
Yes, you can, and let me explain why. Let me explain why you can.
Right.
Here's why you can.
How did it mutate with them?
Yeah, I didn't get the virus. It mutated. That motherfucker just mutated. It's your fault, you non-vaccinated people.
The virus.
If you had
it's easy to win an argument when you just talk too loud for anybody else.
Go ahead. Like Jack got me. It makes sense, but
I got you, Doc. I got you.
I'm not saying what you're saying doesn't make sense. Here's my problem with your very logical and true statement, right? Because everything you said is true. Here's the issue with it. You can't call up the vaccine, the virus, and tell it to stop doing that, right? So now what we're left with is what we do based on the fact that we know viruses mutate, and we want to not live in a world where you either stay at home all day long or have to worry about catching viruses that are more likely to kill you than the viruses that we normally deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? And how we respond to that is going to be the only thing that matters, because we can't make the virus stop doing what a virus does. What we can do, and what we've done in the past, is come up with immunizations, get it out wide enough so that it doesn't continue to pass and it doesn't continue to mutate, and we don't have to worry about new strands coming out the next day that we're not prepared for. Because when you stop it from,
then why don't you clear? Then why don't we cure the flu? Why don't we cure the flu?
We're not, but I'm not asking you to cure it.
Too much money in medicine.
You can't cure viruses.
Exactly. That's my point. You can't cure viruses. That's the point, right?
But nobody is. But I'm not suggesting that you cure it.
People who did not get vaccinated, though.
So people that don't get flu, the people that don't get the flu vaccine, they're responsible for the flu every year.
That's what you're saying, Adam. Right
That's
there.
What you're saying.
What he just said. Because I didn't get the flu vaccine.
He's responsible for next year's flu. You're responsible for the flu this year.
I'm the reason that the flu coming out next year.
If more people got vaccinated, there would be less flu deaths. Is that what you're asking? Yes, that is true.
No, it's because the flu virus mutates constantly. It's not because
yes, it does, and we update the vaccine constantly. And the more people that get vaccinated, the less.
By your logic, if next year every single person around the world got the flu vaccine, that'd be the end of the flu.
No, it would get passed less and less. The less it gets passed. I mean, this is science. Like y'all are arguing at me like I'm retarded. This is like basic science.
It's not that you're retired, but it's not that you're retired. What we're saying is that
chicken pox.
Think about this.
Okay,
think about
one more. Wait up. Slow up. The chicken pox. My son, or there's a comment. My kid won't get chicken pox because of vaccines. Now that's true. They got vaccinated. The kids now can get vaccinated. They don't get chicken pox at all. It used to be that everyone got chicken pox.
But we haven't eradicated.
But shingles is
no, that's right.
You haven't
eradicated less cases.
And massively less cases. And when you see outbreaks of measles and smallpox and whooping cough, they're in areas where people have decided not to vaccinate their kids. That's where the outbreaks happen.
I am not
every
100%
time
anti-vaccine because, like I said, I've already gotten half of it. I just got really sick off the first one. What I'm saying is, I don't know. We don't know how it affects every single person. There's 300.
We don't know how any medicine affects every single person. Okay, that's true of Tylenol.
But you would want to force all 320 million people to get one.
So
if it keeps
this virus,
people from a million people a year from dying, yes, I would.
So then why not? Why
which is why. And here's the thing: this isn't late breaking news in our country. We've been doing this for like 100 fucking years.
Yeah, but why the million?
And nobody's had a problem with it. Not nobody. The masses haven't had a problem with it until now.
Why just this million? Why don't you care about obesity or heart disease, which kill more?
I do.
I do. Heart disease, obesity, cancer.
Let's talk about those things.
They kill more people.
Who says I don't care about those things? If they had a vaccine that would minimize the chances of somebody getting cancer by 92%, I'd say take that fucking shot too. Like, are you kidding me?
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
If someone offered me a vaccine, if someone offered me a vaccine,
and you not taking that vaccine doesn't give me cancer.
Just pose. Answer the question. Do you think that in down the line that this vaccine will start to cost?
They'll start charging us for vaccines.
It already
costing. Go look at the stocks for.
It depends on how you.
Stocks.
How it depends on what you can. Right? I mean, like literally. Okay, but to answer your question, you mean like literally people paying to get the shot? Is that what you're talking about? Like out of their own pocket, as opposed to out of taxes? What do you mean by cost?
No, everyone pays.
Because I mean,
my
it costs.
Pays for it. Yeah, my insurance.
You're paying for it now.
Yeah, you're paying for it.
But you're paying for your insurance.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, you pay for it.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Even if the government pays for it, we're paying for. I mean, who the fuck we pay for? I mean, like.
I'm not going to blame people that get unvaccinated for it. I don't think it's their fault. I honestly don't.
The variant is. I mean, scientifically,
that's that media machine. That's that media machine.
It's not. It's not. I mean, history has proven this time and time again with vaccinations. When we vaccinate, it massively reduces the chances of people getting caught. It protects people. It protects people who can't get vaccinated. Because there are plenty of people who can't get vaccines, right? It protects those people by all of us being immunized. And we have done this for 100 years without it being any kind of real issue, right? Until the internet came out and people who don't know shit about science all of a sudden got a fucking post to stand up and yell at the top of their fucking lungs. And now all of a sudden shit that we've accepted as science for 100 fucking years is gone out the motherfucking window. And now all of a sudden it's like, vaccines? How the fuck can they make us take vaccines? We've all been getting, you got 30 vaccines before you were 5 fucking years old and nobody bitched about it. It was fine.
Look, Adam, you can't. Basically, the point is this: you can't blame non-vaccinated people for virus mutating.
Yes. That's my only problem with your statement.
Yes.
Look,
okay.
Like, I was in the military,
on a very technical level, that is absolutely true. They didn't technically mutate the virus, but viruses mutate when they spread, and if you lower the cases of spread, then you reduce the chances of the virus mutating on its own.
Then we should have kept the border shut.
Significantly.
Build that wall.
We should have kept the border shut.
Build that wall.
Because where did the variant start?
What did Trump do? He said, I don't want nobody.
Once it's here, it doesn't matter. That's the thing. You could, I mean.
American came from India, so we should have kept the border shut because we have a record number of people vaccinated, correct?
It wouldn't have mattered at this point. Look, once the virus was here, it
wouldn't have mattered.
No, because
if we kept the border shut and we kept the India,
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because if we had locked the United States up, which causes all kinds of other problems between it was political. 90% of our economy is built on trade, and like so much of what we survive on every day comes from other places. So it would be huge fucking problem if we just stopped anything from coming in. But
that's what Japan did, right? They had that cruise ship. They're like, nah, y'all can't come over here. They're right outside there.
Look, that's different. That's a little different. A cruise ship full of people that are infected. I think to just open up the doors and say, "Come on in," is stupid, right?
Yeah, but when Trump tried to say,
let me answer your question though.
They're like, no. Go ahead.
Let me tell you why it wouldn't have mattered. Because although that particular variant might not have gotten here, if a massive amount of people in our country continue to not get vaccinated and it continues to spread hundreds of thousands of people at a time like it is right now, another variant's going to pop up, and it doesn't have to be from India. It's going to happen right here, and we're going to have to deal with that shit.
Cat had COVID or some shit?
What?
Didn't they say this dude's cat had COVID when it first popped off? Like, Victor, pull up the news. I think they said this shit spread it through animals too when it first happened.
There's actually there's a snow leopard somewhere.
Snow leopard had COVID.
That actually had COVID.
Right. So if that's the case, why the fuck we vaccinating people? Vaccinating birds?
Because one person might still get it. Let's all not get vaccinated.
What about the people that are coming across the border right now?
Here's why, Doc.
Vaccinate them. They're coming across the Dominicans with the white pants. I got a pair of.
Absolutely. People coming into the country. Why not? Absolutely. You want to come to the country, vaccinate them.
Are we vaccinating them?
We're gonna vaccinate.
Fuck yeah! Why not? Honestly, I mean,
they're being released. They've been released.
I'm saying right now, I would if the country right now said you don't even have a choice anymore. If you want to do anything other than leave your fucking house, go get vaccinated.
Now my body or my choice.
DMX said it best.
So wait. Human life is precious. Human life is precious unless it's human life being infected by a virus, and then it's not, right?
It's your responsibility. You know the risk to going outside. I know the risk. I'm not a great swimmer. I know the risk. If
it would only affected you, I would agree with that. If it only if not getting vaccinated only affected the people who didn't get vaccinated,
then we should ban alcohol.
My ass down too to
by your logic, Adam, we should ban alcohol.
What? Let me ask you this:
drunk driving.
I can give you a million. I can give you a million benefits to not making alcohol illegal. What are the What are the massive benefits to not vaccinating people? What are they? Because
there's you can go through herd immunity and allow the virus to die out and
herd immunity.
That's not how herd immunity is not by letting people get sick. Herd immunity happens when you vaccinate enough people that they protect the unvaccinated. That's herd immunity. Herd immunity does not happen from letting everybody get sick.
So herd immunity doesn't happen naturally.
No.
Never.
Not with viruses like this. No, it does not. That's not how that's not how viruses work.
To help
it actually, that's not true. Wait, that's not true. Herd immunity does happen naturally, but it's after it kills off more than half of the community.
Oh, sure, yeah. You could.
So
you're right. We could do like the Black Plague and just decide that people who aren't naturally able to fight it off should just fucking die. We could go with that outcome if y'all want.
I think you protect the people at risk. Protect the people at risk. And allow people to make
How? By telling them they can't do anything anymore?
Opposed to the whole what we did the whole country, did we not?
32, 20.
Right. That in order to protect people before we made everybody just fucking stay home and our economy fell apart and people went fucking nuts.
Okay, so we will not tell the people that they need vaccines to go get the vaccines, but we will tell people that can't have the vaccines that they have to stay at home.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's ridiculous.
That seems a little strange.
Right. How is asking
wait.
He's got a very good point. How is asking you to get a vaccination more unfair than it is to tell people who can't get vaccinated your life just needs to change massively for now until the end of fucking time so that I don't have to get 2 shots?
Who can't get vaccinated? You're proposing everybody gets vaccinated. Who can't get vaccinated right now?
Kids can't get vaccinated until you're 13. You can't get vaccinated.
Kids,
why not?
600 kids have died out of the pool. It's like 0.0001.
My kid's diabetic. She's 10 years old and she can't go to school next year because you don't want to get not you, but because people don't want to get vaccinated.
I'm diabetic.
My kid can't go to school.
I'm diabetic also.
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of people
right now
who can't get vaccinated. And we're saying, to his point, which is a very, very good one, that like asking people to get a vaccine that so far we've given to like 100 million people, and there's been like 4 or 5 major issues out of 100 million people.
I'm saying personal responsibility and choice.
Look,
listen. But here's the thing.
You're absolutely right.
2 months ago, when it was, hey, if you've been vaccinated, you don't have anything to worry about, and you can't bring it home to your kids if you've been vaccinated. Yeah. I 100% agree with you. My viewpoint on it at that point was, hey, people don't want to. If the only people who get sick are the people who don't go and get the shot, then you want to die. That's your choice. You're a grown ass person. But that's not the case anymore. We know that that's not true now.
You have to look at the stages of the shenanigans that have been caused. The stages of shenanigans. Get vaccinated. You don't have to wear your mask. Now you got people out here with no mask on. Okay.
Right.
But then they say, the mask doesn't. If the mask protects, you from getting it. Is the right, you know how to say the right hand don't know what the left hand is doing. No one really knew what was going on with any of this shit. It's the first time this is happening, right? So
we use the information we have at the time.
By the time the information gets here, the shit's already here. So we're behind on what's going on to where now you got this variant, these mutations. Well, only thing they can say is blame the non-vax. Well, they also say that even if you're vaxxed, it doesn't protect you from it. So when people got the vaccination, they were like, I'm immune. I'm a fucking Avenger.
Hey, one of my buddies wants to know if you
I
can
could go
approve
out here and just breathe in people's mouth. Ha.
One of my
buddies wants to know if you can approve to the group.
Yeah, it's like you approved to the group. Like,
one of my buddies asked if he could be approved to the group.
Get invited on. Will, are you listening? Will, are you listening?
I got it.
Oh yes. You gonna send it to him?
No,
he's trying to be part of the group so that he can be.
Stuff. He wants to chat or he wants to come on live.
He wants to make
I got it.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. All right, my bad. I mean, we'll bring him on if he wants to talk.
I agree with Dot saying, because you can even watch. You can watch there's somebody made a video of Dr. Fauci saying one thing, then going back, then saying one thing, then going back.
As more information comes out, you change your point of view.
He admitted he lied. He admitted that he lied that masks could help because he was trying to protect the mask for the people. So he deliberately lied to people.
Wait, what? I don't.
What did he say?
What?
When the first mask came out, he said the reason that people didn't need masks was he was trying to protect, to keep the stockpile for the medical people.
Okay.
He didn't want people to go out there and buy, so he deliberately lied to people.
Well, we did with toilet paper.
The people that had, like you said, your daughter's at risk, so he lied so that you wouldn't go get something that you used to protect your daughter for medical staff. I mean, the whole point of this thing was not to overrun the medical system. That's the reason for the shutdown. Is the medical system being overrun? Is the fundamental question.
It is starting to actually be overrun again.
At what percentage? And at what percentage?
But should we wait until it is to do something about it? Like, can't we?
But by that standard, you could apply that standard to any disease and anything.
Except that's not true, because we've seen where this one goes, and we know what direction it's heading in. If the flu, all of a sudden the flu was much easier to catch,
it kills 60,000 people every year.
Very easy to catch.
60,000 people in a 12-month period. We're talking about over 1 million people. Those numbers don't even fucking compare to each other. You're talking about.
So then, what percentage is acceptable then? What percentage of death is acceptable then?
Do we need to pick that number to know this one isn't?
Obviously we do.
So hold on. So wait. So you say flu kills how many?
To ask people to take a shot, like it's not like.
Hold on. Let's break it down. You say the flu kills how many people per year?
I read it was like somewhere around 60,000 people.
Like worldwide,
right?
No, U.S.
Okay, U.S. a year, right? Okay, now hold on. How many people has COVID killed in the U.S. in a year?
Well, fucking tell me that.
Well, no. Follow me, just please follow me. How many?
They've reported like 600,000.
600,000. So it's killed,
10 times,
substantially
10, 12
more,
times as many people, right?
In 1 year.
It depends.
But the flu has been running the show. The flu virus.
2018 to 2019, flu killed 34,000. So that'd be 20 times as many if that's the case. Go ahead.
Right. So what we're at right now is that we have a bigger, badder player in the game, and instead of comparing one to the other, let's focus on what we got now. We knew we went through this last year, and allegedly it killed X amount of people. And I say allegedly because
they were getting money. But if they reported deaths, the hospitals were getting X amount of money. So if they reported death, I forgot what the number was. But
there was also a lot of
613,000 in the United States.
If you're running a hospital and you can mark this person and get this death and you get X amount of money, you're going to tell me they're not going to do it?
Yeah, they're gonna do it.
But how
you're gonna do it? And that's why it did. And then what happened is they had to curve that because you then started to have them lose money. Is why they started telling people stay home, because now your hospital has only this, and now you're not gonna get this funding because your hospital falls under a bracket to where you have people coming in this. You're not gonna get that funding now. That's what don't come into the hospital if you're sick. Just stay home. Isolate yourself for 2 weeks.
And the makeshift freezers that they have for dead bodies because they can't process them quicker enough. Those are just make believe.
Well,
I mean, I could dive down a deep hole.
You also realize that
I could dive down a deep hole on that.
So many more people are dying than normally that we've had to create places to put dead bodies.
The only reason we have only 35,000 deaths of the flu is because
there's a flu vaccine. Right.
And people take
That's the other, right. If there wasn't a flu vaccine, it'd be way more than 35,000.
Right.
Could it be a smart virus and it's only picking certain people?
What are those people? Because they seem to fall in every race, age.
Well, no, it's more blacks and more Hispanics.
It's not age.
At first, I'm glad you said that, Victor, because at first they were saying blacks get it at a higher percentage, and then they blamed it like, oh, because it's in New York, and back when this first happened, they're like, oh, and then they real quickly, and that's
hold on, is this?
That's when they started letting. That's when they stopped letting black people come over to Asia. They said, oh, blacks carry the higher percentage of the vaccine. Like last year, when it first started, when it was all shenanigans,
higher percentage of the vaccine.
You could look up this news article. They tried to target like, okay, black people are the cause of the higher raise of the COVID virus. So then they started like
it's the same.
But then they switched it up real quick and said Native Americans at one point. And then I bullshit. Look this shit up. Look it up because I'm like, wait, that's odd. Now Native Americans are the highest percentage. And then they're like, whoa, never mind. Everybody wear your mask. Look it up. I can't make this shit up.
I don't know that
340 deaths.
I was tracking this back when it first happened.
What's that?
An Excel sheet.
340 deaths, 0 to 17 is the number.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
0 to 7. Oh, ages 0 to 17. Is it what are we talking about?
340.
340 deaths. Yeah, it's less
versus
likely.
How many million? What is the percentage? Versus
right.
I'm not saying one value is not important. I'm just saying.
I was about to say. So how many?
Yeah, it's way less likely if you're young and healthy. If you're young and healthy, it's way less likely.
This disease kills people that are my age and older at an unprecedented rate.
Yes, that's definitely true. You're much more likely if you're older or out of shape.
My only point, and I think, is that you know the risk to get vaccinated.
Yeah, but again,
now to go out.
Right, but the reason why,
so just use your common sense and stay out of people's face and keep yourself good.
What does my daughter do? My daughter just lives a life inside the rest of her life so that you don't have to get fucking vaccinated.
It's a little more difficult for your daughter, bro. I know this personally, like you know what I'm saying. I know what what you have to go through, and
not just her.
Hold on.
And not just her, like all of us, because I can bring it home.
For someone like you. Yes, this is a time that fucking sucks.
What about nuts? My son's allergic to nuts. We should outbound peanuts for the entire.
They have been on the airport.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even on airplanes. Kids can't bring them to school.
I'm talking the world so that he can't ever touch one.
Well, they go.
But again, like you're saying, since we won't ask people to make massive fucking sacrifices, how can we ask them to make a tiny sacrifice and get a shot?
I mean, I think that this
is not the same comparison.
The political machine that is utilizing this virus should really be pissing you off more than anything else, because I know you have to personally. I know what you're going through. I can't. I mean, I understand. But
the fact that this is a political thing instead of just a science thing pisses me off to no fucking end.
That's the part
because if we just looked at it from a science standpoint, these would not be complicated things. They haven't been in the past.
Like Jack is saying, you have to protect yourself. Make sure you're straight.
You know what happened during the last massive outbreak? They came up with a vaccine. They gave it to everybody. Everybody took it, and life fucking went on. That's what happened last time, and the time before that, and the time before that. They came up with a vaccine. They gave it to people. Everybody. No, it wasn't the fucking flu.
So why do we still have it every year like a new pair of Jordans?
Because we don't want more than 37,000 people to die, and they don't because they get vaccinated. Like
why don't they make the whole U.S. get vaccinated then for the flu?
Because the numbers, you're right. There is a number that we've decided is just too consequential to be like, hey, this is cool.
Great point. My brother's made the COVID vaccine will be like the flu vaccine. You're just gonna have to get it every year.
Yes,
so what? If it keeps everybody safe,
but it's by choice. It's a personal choice, and if not,
it is because we've recognized that the risk to everybody else is much smaller than in this case. And in this case, your personal choice has.
Why just this? like I said, why just this?
Okay, name something else
so if you drink and drive, you can kill innocent
we
people.
make that illegal. That's illegal. You can do it. You're not supposed to. But we're not talking about people choosing. Like we're not talking about. Hold on. We're not talking. Hold on. We're not talking. We're not talking about a legal mandate to get the shot, and some people are just not showing up, even though it's illegal. We're saying that it hasn't even gotten to that yet. We're asking people to do it, and they're saying, "How dare you even ask me to do it, you asshole!"
I don't think that's so. People just want to see the science.
I want to. Do you remember the polio? Wait. Does y'all remember polio? Polio.
Yeah.
They got a vaccine for it, and they required everyone to take it at the time, and it eradicated the virus.
Kids get it.
And kids
get the polio vaccine now before they can even go to school. Right, exactly.
So
smallpox, whooping cough. There's like a dozen or more of them that we all got vaccinated for, and then continue to vax our kids throughout the rest of the time. And now, instead of it being a disease that kills off 20% of the population, it's something we barely have to fucking deal with.
In the comments. Hey, go to the comments, you guys.
Hey, hold on. Yeah, I'm sorry. Your boy did get in. He said medical professionals are literally losing their jobs by not getting the vaccine. They would rather lose their jobs than get the vaccine. Think about that. That's a good point. I think the suggestion would be because they work in the health industry, they know something that we don't. I would argue that as much as that's possible, it's also possible that they're just, like anybody else who doesn't want to get the vaccine, that they just happen to be people that work in a fucking hospital.
That vaccine is not fully vetted, right? It's not fully approved.
It is.
It's on an emergency approval. It's on an emergency approval.
It went through the exact same testing process than any other vaccine did. They just did it faster. They just did it faster.
It does not have the final approval, Adam.
Of who?
It does not have the final approval.
Of what? What final approval?
It's not FDA approved.
Yes, it is.
It's on an emergency approval.
Yes, it's not FDA approved, Adam.
It is FDA approved.
On an emergency approval. It is not FDA approved.
It's not. It hasn't gone through the process. You know how to.
Yes, it has. It has gone through the entire testing process.
No, it has not.
You know how to
yes, it has.
To get it done,
it has not.
And then we'll run the credit card later.
I've read stories about this over and over again.
Approval.
Right, that's a great example. Here, go ahead, take the car home, and then we'll take care of your paperwork tomorrow. That's what they did with the vaccine.
That's not what they did with the vaccine.
What is wrong with someone saying, "Look,
go home, drive it, then tomorrow we'll take care of your paperwork," and then when you get there tomorrow, like, well, we got you approved at this amount. But they fast tracked it, bro.
But actually,
you can do something faster and still do it right. One thing doesn't mean the other.
But there's also a possibility of doing it wrong, right?
There's always the possibility of doing it wrong. I mean, again, like you guys, like it kills me with these arguments, and it's like unless you can give me like 100% guarantee,
argument vaccine, Adam.
Unless you can give me 100% guarantee, then you shouldn't be able to ask me to do it. Now, mind you, nothing in my life has 100% guarantee. But on this one thing, if I can't get 100% guarantee, then how dare you ask me to do this thing?
I'll work with you. I'll work with you because you know what? Ron Burgundy once said 60% of the time, it works every time.
Nothing is 100% guaranteed. Every single thing you put in your body every single day could kill you.
But by choice.
Not everything. You've had 12, 13. How many vaccines did you get as a kid? Those weren't your choice. They weren't your parents' choice.
I've had more vaccines than you.
Yeah, you were in the military. You've had even more than us.
That's why I decided to go. That's why I decided to go get
mandated.
But
and
I also got really sick. I also got really sick.
That's different. Okay, look, I've never gotten to comment. I've never gotten to comment on that. There is a difference between people who have a legitimate reason, right? There's certain people, certain age groups.
You're saying force everyone.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm quite the contrary. I'm saying because of people like that, like my kids and older people and people who have other medical conditions who cannot get the vaccine, should not get the vaccine. The rest of us should. The rest of us should nut up and say 100 million people have gotten the vaccine in our country alone, and there's been like 4 or 5 serious health concerns. Most medicines on the market aren't that reliable. Like most medicines that you have in your fucking pantry have worse side effects than 5 out of 100 million people. And you have no problem with that at all. Now we have a disease that's affecting our entire country and keeping people, large, massive groups of people inside their homes, unable to do anything. And you're saying, despite the fact that this has better results than Tylenol,
Vic,
you shouldn't have to be asked to take it. That's fucking insane.
Let's get outside of look outside of ourselves. Hey Vic or Adam, maybe you can run these numbers.
Okay.
Look up the population of Rio de Janeiro.
Okay.
Right. Look up the population of Rio de Janeiro. Look up COVID infection death versus COVID infection death and survival, or how you know what I'm trying to say.
Population of Rio de Janeiro 6.7 million.
How many people have died from COVID virus
in Rio de Janeiro?
Yes. They got 6.7.
Your kids died. It's like it won't be personal to any of them until one of their people dies.
How many people have died from it?
I'm on it.
And then
Did you hear me?
what is the next question I was gonna ask? How many people have died? How many people have had COVID and survived? Because there's a great deal of people in Rio that live in those favelas.
556,000.
556,000.
That's 1/12. 1/12 of the population dead.
1/12 out of 6,500,000.
1/12 of the population dead from COVID. We don't have diseases.
Now,
there's nowhere
but here's my point.
Decades we've never had a disease that comes anywhere close to those fucking numbers. To suggest that any other thing is like this.
But here's what I'm saying. It should be eradicating. It should be eradicated. Like if what this virus doing what it's doing, and there's 6 million people, a lot of those people are packed on top of one another, so that number should actually be double.
And look, I'm looking at it right now.
Why does it need to be? I mean, what?
U.S. death rates.
1/12.
This disease was so massive, right? We should have seen a huge spike, right? 2018, 8.685. 2019, 8.782. Last year, 8.8.
Wait, what was it before?
8.782.
Yeah.
So why has the death rate increased dramatically? If this was such,
it doesn't matter. Are you suggesting?
I'm just saying the same amount of people died, almost as died in the previous few years.
So question, gentlemen. Question for y'all. They say when you get COVID, they say quarantine
some
yourself
other
for 2 weeks,
reason
right?
that people normally die from got cut back.
You should have seen a spike, though, right?
What if less people died in car accidents because people were locked in their house for 8 months?
So should we let me ask you this? Should we just quarantine everybody, shut down, everything shuts down for a full month?
No.
A full month. Back to shut down for a full month to let this virus weaken? Because when you do get COVID, they what they say? They
vaccinate everybody.
They don't give you medicine, right? They tell you go home for 2 weeks, right, in quarantine, and get over it.
Okay.
That's what they tell you. That's the treatment for COVID. Get over it in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, if you don't have the worst reaction to it, yes, that's
right.
Right.
So then, what they do is that you shut back down for another month, unless you have those worse conditions. Then they can treat those. Outside of that, if you don't have it or you have it, you're so mild or you don't have any symptoms, we just shut down. Everybody isolate. Everybody solitary, solcon for a month.
Shut the country down for a month as opposed to everybody taking 2 shots.
Which one will work better? Which one will work better? Because this way, people are vaccinated, they're fine. It's the non-vaccinated.
But that's not true anymore.
All them motherfuckers off into a camp and solitary confinement them. Get the goddamn Gestapo.
How is that?
Round these motherfuckers up.
That's what I'm saying. Again, I think if the point you're making is if I suggest people should get a vaccination, something that anybody in the United States has already done 20 times, right? At least, right? That I'm also saying that why shouldn't we just round people up and lock them in? That's not the same thing.
I don't want to make fun of this, but you guys have to look at this shit as funny video. When this was happening and they were not rounding people up, when they were putting curfews you have to look at the way the police was treating some of these people in these other countries. They were beating them with sticks and on their legs, like with bamboo sticks, like why are you outside? Going to the house.
we live in a country where our country forced massive amounts of people to go untrained to other countries and fight to the death for our country. And now,
bro,
40, 50 years later, we're saying
the police was spanking people
that the government asking us to get a shot is fucking like we're losing our goddamn minds over it. I mean, I don't know that I saw as many people I'm not saying they didn't. Let me be really clear. But I'm saying I don't know that the draft was as controversial in this country as the fucking vaccine is today. How is that possible?
I think it was.
How is that possible?
I think it was at the time. You look at the burnings and people going to Canada.
I'm not.
I think it was.
Yeah, the draft was very controversial. Bro.
It was. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm not saying it wasn't.
We just didn't have the big media coverage like we do. We had controlled media.
You see who was drafted too, primarily. You know.
Okay, hold on. Everybody, let's take a break for just a second because there's a bunch of posts here. Hold on.
Yeah. Chicken spicy.
Why is it my responsibility to protect anyone else? I am supposed to come out and put your seatbelt on for you. Stay away from people if you're scared. I would argue because you're part of.
Who said that?
Probably Bullet.
Bullet, yeah.
I like that.
So here's my
fuck your couch.
All right, we'll give.
Yeah, I'll put my feet on his couch.
Give everybody a chance to laugh, and then we'll actually respond to it. I would argue because you're part of a community, you don't live in the middle of nowhere. Like you part of being a community is being responsible to your community.
Yeah, there's plenty of laws that are to protect the public.
It's the same. Right. You're not supposed to drink and drive because it's harmful to other people, not because it's harmful to you.
There's stop people from doing it, though. People still do it.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that we don't ask people not to do it. I mean, like he's asking, why should I do it? My argument would be because in a society, you're not just supposed to care about yourself. That's not how good societies
function. We live in a society where people are selfish, just like you're not supposed to drink and drive. But
yes,
correct.
We do.
Obviously, people are going to do it. But
and if that wasn't the case, I'd argue we'd all be vaccinated and not be talking about this variant right now if we're all so fucking selfish.
But what I'm saying by your logic, that we should go back to prohibition. Since people can't be trusted, then we should just remove alcohol from the equation.
But again, my argument to that would be there are benefits for alcohol being legal. What is the benefit to people not getting vaccinated? I don't know what that is.
I think some people just want to see the final FDA approval stamped. And
it's supposed to be coming in January.
Yeah, and if our fucking economy burns to the ground by then, who gives a shit?
So you're asking someone that says, Adam, I don't disagree with vaccines. I believe in vaccines. I just want to see the FDA approval that says that this isn't going to kill me, or I don't have something in my health history that's going to cause it to kill me. You're saying to that person, no, take the fucking vaccine.
Okay, what I'm saying,
if it kills you, the rest are protected.
What I'm saying,
the government is Ike Turner,
and not what I'm saying. Not what I'm saying. What I would say to that person is, we've given out over 100 million vaccines, and so far there's been 5 fatal reactions to 100 million people being treated, and there are not very many FDA-approved medications on the market right now that you could give to 100 million people and only have 5 fatalities.
Then why does this not have FDA approval?
Because it takes time to do it, and we don't have the time to wait. That's the problem.
That's why they fast-tracked it.
That's why that person that says, "Hey, I've got stuff."
I'm sure that's right. I'm sure that's right.
I want to wait.
I'm sure that's right. I am sure now more than ever. It's look. It's just
like they could be like Bill in the counter. Hey, Bill, what are you doing? Get your ass over here. Come test this goddamn vaccine. All hands on deck. We need to get this approved.
Why would we need to do that? We've vaccinated 100 million people. Why would we need to force other people to get tested to see how people react to it? We have 100 million people that we can observe and see what happens to them. Why would we need to force somebody from accounting to do it? Like we are, like that's
all hands on deck. He went to college, right? He got a degree. He's paid.
Yeah, but
you got to pay his bill back. You want to get your college degree paid for? Get in here and test this vaccine, Bill.
Why? First of all, that's how we test. That's how we test every fucking medicine in like that you take now.
Yeah, you want your 50K?
So,
Here,
well,
take the
okay,
shot.
but let's be really clear then. Then what you're saying is we shouldn't test medicine, period, because that's how we test medicine.
Oh yeah, we can test it on the whales, test it on the monkeys.
That's not how medicine gets. That's not. To be clear, that is not how medicine gets tested in this country.
On the bats in Wuhan.
That's not what we do.
It came from.
It's really funny, right? But to your point, when we want to put out a medication in this country, we test it on humans. Right. That's how it gets tested. That's how it's always been done. And people volunteer to do it. And if you got a problem with that, then you got a problem with like every single medication that we have available to us today, not just this vaccine.
Rest in peace.
So let's not get off track and pretend like
those tests. He passed away. He used to do those tests, and I remember him telling me he didn't pass away because of the test. No, he got hit by a car.
All right.
He got hit by a car, but that was like maybe almost 9 years ago. But if you probably test the body today, he may have had COVID. Anyway, but he used to do those tests, and one of the things, and it's kind of funny, but it's not funny. He used to be like, "Hey man, sometimes I don't know if I farted."
Look,
I would just he said he didn't know if it came from the test, but he was like, I started to smell like
but he would be by himself. I'll tell you right now, you could not I'm not gonna test medication.
True story.
I ain't gonna do it.
Testing medication because it's not approved. You just did test it.
There were tons of tests that medication went through before they put it out there to suggest, even if you're right, even if it hasn't gotten the FDA final approval, that to say that it hasn't been tested is not the same thing. That's just not like.
You're right. They just tested it on 100 million people.
And before they gave it to anybody, they did lots of testing on
more. Yeah, you're right. It's first of all, it was tested beforehand. Second of all, you are right. It has been tested on 100 million people. But in saying that, that means it's been tested more than any drug before FDA approval.
Never.
And it's still not a cure.
So then what should I do?
Nobody's saying it's a cure.
So Adam, what should I do?
It's not supposed to be a cure.
What should I do? I got the first shot and I got extremely sick. And I developed. Should I go get the second shot?
Probably not. You should talk to your doctor and probably not. And
wait, is that
people like you are the reason why people like me should.
Right. You end up in the hospital?
No, I just got. So my wife had COVID, didn't get it. We slept same bed. Kids went back for it, didn't get it. My brother-in-law, Patrick, Vivian's husband, he got it. I was with them the day before, didn't get it. Right? I was with him the day before. He was in ICU. Victor probably saw it. He was in ICU. He almost died from it.
Yeah,
my coworker, my coworker, I was right in his face. 2 days later, he got it, didn't get it. I go get the shot. That Friday, I start feeling sick. By Saturday, I have full-blown COVID. I asked them. They said, no, it wasn't the shot. It wasn't the shot. It wasn't the shot. You obviously got it from someone. I'm like, dude, I was around the same people. No one around. None of my immediate circle got COVID but me after I got that shot. Dude, I thought I was gonna die. Seriously, thought I was gonna die. It was pretty bad.
Like I was licking frogs' backs, and
I would.
My head felt it was gonna explode. I had to get special.
I've heard people that have that with the second shot.
I had to get medicine to help me.
Some people have a tough reaction to it. And the truth of the matter is, to a degree, like not feeling good, feeling like flu symptoms are starting to come on. That means that that's how vaccines work, right? You get a mild exposure to the disease, which builds up your immunity.
I got a question for Jack. So you felt terrible and you thought you were gonna die, and it was the worst thing that you had in a long time. Now, if you could take 2 seconds out of your life and have an action done for you that you would never have to feel that way again, you don't think it's worth it?
Actions by who? By me or someone else?
Well, by if you could get the vaccine, basically.
He's saying, now that you know how bad it is,
why wouldn't you want to vaccine? Because I was debating whether to get it or not. I went to get. I was, I've been pumped through so many things when I was.
I don't think Jack's argument's ever been that he doesn't want to get the vaccine, but more that he understands why people don't.
I understand why people don't, and I don't blame people that didn't get it for the cause of the variant, because logically I just don't see that as possible. If viruses evolve on their own,
they do evolve on their own. But
what I'm saying is that most people that have actually had COVID, they think that the idea of actually getting a vaccine so that they never feel like that again is well worth it.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Look,
and I think it's gonna, like I said, I think it's going to be like the flu, and I think like the flu shot, it is a choice because it's not mandated. There is no mandate for the flu shot, and you could kill someone with an elderly person with the flu just like you can with COVID.
Yeah, that's why
Get
they
it?
say to
It's
go
the
home.
same.
but
It's the
these
same logic.
Yes, but
but
you understand that it's
on a
like
level
300 times most
unprecedented.
Well, no,
Right.
it's just more transmittable than
It's more
flu.
transmittable. It's the same logic. You can kill someone with the flu just like you could kill someone with COVID.
Right.
Yes.
But
Except it's extremely more
One is
transmittable
reinforced.
right,
One
and
is
we've accepted like worldwide too, not even just in this country when this happens, because it does. That's the other scary thing. It's like, are we really gonna just not deal with this one like we always have? And then another one is gonna happen because they always do. And now we're gonna have two major fucking diseases that nobody, like, that half the fucking planet isn't willing to get vaccinated again. Like, at what point is it gonna get completely out of fucking control? Because unlike in the past where we figured it out and gotten what we needed to not have to worry about it, half the world's just not gonna fucking do that anymore.
So just like they tested, just like back in the whatever early 1900s, whatever, how they tested that black lady's DNA to graph and map all of the back the cures we have today. I say test Magic Johnson, man.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, all right. So on that commute note, let me just bullets been going off here. So we got, why is it my responsibility? Next one is, it's not a sacrifice. It's giving up your rights. I won't give up my rights. So you have, just real quick, based on your own criteria here, you gave up, like, we've been giving up, if being vaccinated is giving up your rights, everybody in this country gave up their rights the moment they were born. You've been vaccinated. Like, you've been vaccinated. We all got vaccinated. How is it a right now to not get vaccinated when in this country we've been vaccinating people without them even having a say, before they're even old enough to know they're getting vaccinated? For 50, 60 years at least now, more than that, maybe. Like,
pro-choice.
Yeah, but it is
pro-choice.
There are children that don't get vaccinated. There are anti-vaxxers that it's
right, not by their choice. It's not
mandated. It's not mandated.
You're right.
It is to go to school.
Right. A lot of schools won't let you go to school. A lot of places won't let you participate in life.
So if you choose not to get vaccinated, then you choose not to go to that school.
Yeah, and hey, but wait.
But it's your choice.
Yes. Okay. You're right. You're right.
You know the name of the game. COVID chose.
Listen. But let's be fair and point out that the downside to areas where a lot of rich, let's just be honest, families who spend a lot of time on the internet and have chosen not to vaccinate their kids because they've decided to give up on science and just listen to the shit that they're hearing on the internet, are the only places in our country where we've seen outbreaks of diseases that we had under control for decades.
And whose fault is that?
The people not getting vaccinated.
Exactly. It was their choice to do that.
And we all paid for it. Because it's not.
Hey, Jack.
Yes, because
Jack,
it's not.
Jack,
they're not the only ones who get sick. They're not the only ones who get sick.
After you got your vaccine, Jack, did they tell you may the odds be in your favor?
They're not the only ones who get sick. Other people who can't get vaccinated, kids who can't get vaccinated, adults who can't get vaccinated also get those diseases in the areas where people choose not to get vaccinated. It's not just them that suffer the consequences of their free choice. It's everybody.
You can't know that. You can't know everything.
Yes, they can.
Know that.
Yes, they can.
You cannot protect everyone from everything.
You can't.
That is
You're
an
right.
impossibility.
You're right.
But
you're right.
And just to touch on this real quick,
but we can
because I want to touch
this.
on something that Grace
said.
This. I try to make lighthearted a lot of things, but you guys already know, and for the new people, that are watching now, since 2019 up till maybe March, when it comes to suicide, cancer, murder, and COVID, I have lost about 20 people that I've personally known in this life. Life is upside down and unreal for me. I have friends, family members that I have lost to COVID. I will never see them again. Talk to them 1 week and then they're dead the next. 20 people to lose, no matter which type of death, within 2 years is a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so it's a serious thing. We do have something serious going on with this. But I also have a number of people that I know have had COVID and they are perfectly fine. They stayed at home for 2 weeks and they're good.
That's what
I
happens
have
to most
friends
people. Nobody's
also.
suggesting
I have
otherwise.
friends. I have friends also that have had COVID, and I've talked with them, and they're like, "Bro, my lungs don't even feel the same anymore.
Right.
If I get sick again, I'm done for."
Right.
So there's death, there's the long term brutal impact that this thing can do to the body, and then there are people who get it, don't even know it, and they're fine.
Right. No, that's
We
definitely true.
basically don't know what we're dealing with, but this political machine has got behind it and is making people go fucking bananas.
I don't agree with
And
that last part.
no one has a real right answer to this.
None of what you said.
The best thing we could do is make sure we're taking the necessary precautions to look out for one another by looking out for ourselves.
I don't agree with all that. Okay, first of all, Bullet Man, I'm trying to. Every time I read one of your comments, we start talking about it. There's a bunch of them that I want to read.
Go ahead.
All right. So hold on. I'm sorry. You can be the you're missing the. No. Where was the last one I read? If the vaccine works, then why are you worried? Oh, no. Okay, that was the last one I read. Okay, sorry. If the vaccine works, then why are you worried about everyone else getting it? Get yours and move on. Look, like I said, a couple of months ago, what they were telling everybody is it didn't matter. If you got the vaccine, it didn't matter. And not only if you got it, were you not going to get sick, but not get like a really bad case of it, but that people who were vaccinated were like really unlikely to be able to spread it, right? And so when that was the case, I would agree with you 100%. Like, it's not my problem. You don't want to get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. But now I have to be extremely careful that not just that I can't take my kids anywhere that are 8 and 10 now, but I have to be very careful where I go and what I do so that I don't bring it back to my kids that I have to keep locked in my house for going on a year and a half now. And so that's why I'm worried about what other people are doing, because if the CDC, look, are they right? Maybe not. I mean, look, I'd like to sit here and tell you I know for sure that they're right, but I'd be lying, and I'm not going to do that. They could be wrong. I don't know. Like, I think that they are the people that are most likely to have the correct information, and they're saying that if everybody got vaccinated, the chances of new variants coming out would be much, much smaller than they are now. The chances of people who can't get vaccinated getting the disease would be really, really small because we'd have herd immunity, and the people that had been vaccinated would be protecting those who haven't. That's why I'm worried about what other people are doing. There's a couple more. I want to read them all, but I also don't want to be like the only one who comments and then like just moves on to the next one, because that'd be kind of dick.
I just think that what they're trying to do is give everybody the pillow at night to lay down and sleep comfortably by telling them, hey, you can try to do this or you can try to do that, when they really don't even know, bro.
I think they do. I mean,
they look.
No,
I think
you hope that they know, but why do their policies change? You look at the CDC policy when it
because the more you learn, that's exactly what you want to happen.
But the school policy with the kids,
the schools never knew shit.
Actually, the schools did know, because I was a test creator. Hey, bro, I was a test creator when this shit.
I live with a fucking teacher. I mean, she's in these meetings all fucking day about what. They don't know shit. They don't know shit.
You saw stuff before a lot of people did. They may not know as far as from like a technical health perspective, but when it came down to what we're gonna do moving forward, hey, we don't know this, but we do know we're not going to be doing this, and this.
Yeah, but they didn't know what I mean, okay, but how does that help with whether or not we need to get vaccinated or not, which is what we're talking about? I don't think any teachers know more than the rest of us do about whether or not we need to get vaccinated, is my point.
Yeah, most of the schools are just going off of the CDC
right.
Yeah, but their CDC changed. They said something about
the CDC changed,
and then the teachers union came out and pushed, and then the CDC policy changed back to no kids need to wear the mask.
Okay,
So
the
was it the
CDC,
CDC or was it the teachers union that pushed that?
no, the CDC changed as the virus changed. The virus has mutated
So it's
into a different.
conveniently after
It's
the years.
not community. Like, what
It's not
would you
convenient to
would you
anybody.
rather that the
But
people that were
We've had
using?
305 children die from this.
You're saying you would?
Children at risk? Are you saying children at risk?
Yes.
so
Yes.
let me ask you.
And that
School
number would
starts
be
what, August 23rd?
that number would be much larger if a lot of parents didn't pull their kids.
So you're saying the mask works. If the mask worked, then why do you need the vaccine?
Vaccine, because first of all, the mask
If
reduces.
the vaccine works, why do I need a mask? If the mask works, why do I need a vaccine?
Do you want me to answer those questions, or do we want them to just say them like they're end all to the argument?
I'm making a statement. If one works, why doesn't the other?
First of all, because masks aren't 100%. They don't work all the time. Second of all, as we well know, people refuse to wear the fucking masks. So if everybody wore the masks, that would maybe we wouldn't have to have this conversation. But again, we've decided that it's our right not to wear them, and who gives a shit who gets hurt by making that decision? And so we don't know what would happen if everybody wear masks because people won't fucking do it.
If everyone wears a mask and get a vaccine, this virus will go off of the earth.
No,
that's what they're telling you.
Nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying that, and it's to suggest that they are, and the fact that we know that it isn't is them lying to us. They're saying it in a way that they're not saying it. Come on. That's what think about like this. How far this argument is degraded to. Don't listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're not saying by when they say what they're not saying.
I didn't have a dad. It's like saying, I mean, I had my dad in my life. It's like saying I didn't have my dad in my life, so I go like this. What it's saying is, what they're saying is, if everyone wore a mask, we wouldn't have this problem. If everyone got the vaccine, we wouldn't have this problem. Wear the mask and the vaccine, so what'll happen is this problem will go away. Right?
Nobody is saying that. No. You're saying it, but the CDC has never said, no, the CDC has never said that if everybody gets vaccinated and everybody wears their mask, COVID will disappear. Nobody has said that.
Because they're saying, well,
they're saying that what we can do to reduce the amount of deaths and the overexposure to our hospitals is get vaccinated and wear the mask, because the cases would drop to a level so low that it would be like dealing with the flu, which we're used to and can deal with. That's what they're saying. 6 feet apart before you get on the plane, so you can sit next to them, elbows. Yeah, that shit is ridiculous. The idea that we have to be 6 feet apart and then you can sit right next to somebody on a plane is silly. The fact that you have to wear a mask all the way up to a restaurant and then take it off when you eat is silly. That stuff is silly. That's not the same thing that we're talking about.
This disease is so dangerous.
You're also breathing in the same air.
Yeah, this disease is so dangerous that everybody
well, airplanes do have extremely good air filtration systems compared to the rest of it.
But we can allow illegals stopped at the border and allowed to go free that have tested positive for COVID. That's okay too.
Nobody's saying that.
No one said that.
Nobody's saying that. I'm saying you should get vaccinated. That is not a legitimate argument to say that because I think Americans should get vaccinated. I think that we should let illegals across without getting vaccinated. Come on.
I'm saying there's no logic. I'm making a statement. There is no logic behind any of this. There is no logic.
If the majority of this country was vaccinated, a percentage of people not being vaccinated would not be an issue, and your scenario would not change that.
No, I just think that we're not following logic across the board like what you said.
There are some things. You're right. You're right. The airplane thing.
The airplane, the restaurant.
That is weird.
The people coming across the border. Hey, this disease is so critical. Yet, hey, release them. Let them go.
Everybody, and then
why not keep them vaccinated?
All right. The vaccine doesn't work. How is vaccinating? What? The vaccine doesn't work. How is the vaccine going to solve the issue? I don't agree that the vaccine doesn't work, so I don't know how to comment on that one.
But you just said that if we all got vaccinated, there's no guarantee it would stop it.
That's a massive difference.
Saying, yeah.
That's a massive difference between the vaccine doesn't work. What you're saying is if this thing can't magically solve all the world's problems, it doesn't work. I mean, like, it's going to massively.
I think like what Doc said. I think it's going to be a booster shot, a flu shot every year.
Yeah, no,
that's what?
I mean,
they just warming you up for it. You know how how you got they're getting you ready for it. Like,
so
hey, you know what?
So is it going to be mandated? So is it going to be mandated for every citizen every year? Is the booster going to be mandated for every citizen every year?
All we're talking about so far is the fact that people should go get vaccinated.
I'm saying the logical progression. If what you're saying is everybody should get vaccinated, then if this becomes like the flu, then if the next variant comes out, then every sequential
you should go get your next vaccine.
Should it be mandated for every person to get one?
I would love it to be. What I would love even more than that is the country that I grew up loving pull their heads out of their asses and realize
country that you grew up
that
in,
nothing that anybody is asking them to do. Come on, I mean, these are minor things
that
we're asking to give up.
All about the freedom of choice.
Yes, but
to an extent. Yeah, I don't get to choose to blow up a building just because I want to do it.
I didn't see that part of the Constitution says, and you must get vaccinated.
Yeah, I also don't see the part of the Constitution that says, and you can't blow up a building. But we can look at.
I think that's pretty much against the law.
So I don't think they have buildings.
You have the freedom of choice as long as it doesn't. You have the rights as long as it doesn't incur on other people's rights.
Right, exactly. That's my point of the blowing up the building thing. Is just because you want to do it doesn't mean you get to do it. Just because you don't want to do something doesn't mean you cannot do something. There are rules that we have in this country, even with our Constitution in place, that says for the betterment of our country, we expect you to do this or we expect you not to do that. We have all kinds of rules and regulations in place that, by the way, all these people who don't want to wear a mask aren't bitching about because they like the fact that somebody can't break into their house and steal their shit. And so that's a rule that they're completely okay with the fact that goes against their freedoms to do whatever the fuck they want to do whenever the fuck they want to do it.
What freedom?
Well, you're free to break into my house and I'm free to put a bullet in your ass.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Right. You're free to do it with consequence. With consequence.
COVID is not the dangerous motherfucker in my house. I am.
There's consequences, not just you shooting the person. There are state and government mandated consequences to you participating in that activity. And my point is there are lots of things that go against the idea that because we're free, we get to do whatever the fuck we want to do. That's not what freedom means. We accept and acknowledge that for the entire part of the existence of this country, that you can't do whatever you want to. And more to the point, it's not even just a matter of there are laws that say you can and can't do this. Up until pretty recently, as a country, we've been willing to make sacrifices for the betterment of our country, even when it goes against shit that we want to do because we believed in our country and our community and wanted to do what was right by it without people even forcing us to do it. It was just the right thing to do. People donated their gold to the government.
Yeah, but not every single person did, right? It's always been a percentage. It wasn't
right, but nobody's expecting. Like, we're not talking
about 100% vaccination.
I've never said that. I've said every time you've brought that up, I've told you there's people that can't get vaccinated, which is one of the reasons why the ones of us who can should. I've also never said.
So then how do we determine that? Is there a passport? Do we go like the Gestapo?
Health conditions?
Let me see your paper.
Age and health conditions?
You get a doctor's note. Like everything else.
I mean, we don't expect certain people to get IDs to vote, but we're gonna have to get an ID to show you're vaccinated.
Money.
I mean, when I got vaccinated, they gave me a fucking piece of paper. I didn't have to fucking do anything except get the vaccination. So it didn't take any effort for me whatsoever.
So you expected to carry that around now to prove?
No, you're not. But how would that again? Like anything that we ask anybody to do is some massive hardship on their life. Put a piece of paper in your pocket. Oh God, can you lift that up and even put it in your pocket? You poor guy. I mean, come on.
There's not logic in our government.
If you forget to bring your tickets to a basketball game, we don't let you in the fucking game, and nobody bitches about that. Like you have to get in the game. You need the ticket. Bring the goddamn ticket.
Well, so then how are Hispanics and blacks going to do this when we can't get IDs to vote?
You don't need an ID to get vaccinated.
And in some states,
you have to carry one afterwards.
In some states, you don't need an ID.
They give you the card. You're saying to like match up that the card. Yes, there are going to be some things that we have to deal with to get people vaccinated. Right now, all I'm asking is that people nut up and go get the vaccine, and we don't need anybody to do any of that shit for that to happen. Just go stand in the goddamn line.
I'm sitting next to my brother who's a veteran. He's a retired veteran. So
all right, I hear we've been hearing laughing in the background.
Yeah, thank you for his service.
And thanks for listening too.
Thanks for your service, bro. Jack's a veteran too.
All right. Look, I'm gonna try.
He's gotten every shot. He's been all over.
That's what I told him. I've gotten so many shots to be on deployment status, to be ready deployment.
He'll get no choice.
The thing with vaccinations that really pisses me off is I'm a number person, right? For all the arguments you're going to make to me about why you might not want to get it, mathematically, they're dumb. Like, okay. I'm sorry. Like, if you look at the numbers, if you look at the, hold on, I'll let you go. But after I'm done making my point.
It's not a big point, but yeah, go ahead.
If you look at the math of it, the chances of you getting sick from COVID as opposed to the chances of something bad happening from getting the shot, your argument goes out the fucking window. Like, it's just mathematically makes no sense that people don't want to do this. You are so much more likely for something bad to happen to you from not getting it, regardless of all the other bullshit. If you believed all the rumors, you still way better off getting the vaccine than not. And most of them are bullshit. But even if you took out, if just to make the argument go quicker, and you said, you know what, maybe they're putting microchips in there. Maybe you are going to get sick. Maybe you could die. Even if all that shit was true, mathematically, it still makes so much more sense to get the vaccine. So you know what? Don't do it for me. Don't do it for my daughter. Do it because mathematically it gives you a better chance of continuing to live the life and all the freedoms that you've come to love and enjoy.
Is a devil's language, reason. Bobby.
All right, Todd, my bad. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say one of the things that I saw, and that's why I say it wasn't a big point. It was you sparked something when I was initially tracking this back in January, February 2020. Before that, the first plane came to San Antonio. I have an Excel sheet, and then we talked about this. I was tracking the numbers. I created, equations or formulas to calculate it. And I was tracking the numbers weekly all over the world because I wanted to see how the virus moved based off of the numbers, based off of what country had an infection and that infection rate for that day. I still have the sheet. I can probably send it to you. One of the things, and when I saw a change in the numbers as far as staying steady, but surrounding, like geographically surrounding countries were getting higher infection rates, even if it was like, there were some days where I would see like 1 or 2, and then it was 10. The numbers would go up by 10. This is like when it first started, like January, February. I wanted to then dive into that country to see, okay, well, what's going on in that country that's different? And I saw that it could have potentially impacted the tourist industry. It could have potentially impacted the trade with those countries. And what I noticed is the other ones, the numbers were rising, they were staying. They stopped reporting their numbers. At that point, it became political.
It's been
political from. Did you not see at the beginning? Do you might remember the beginning? At the beginning, they reported deaths, right?
Yeah.
The very beginning was deaths, and then it evolved to cases.
Cases, yes.
Because the deaths started to stay at the same number, so they went to cases.
Right. This is one, and I have these numbers. I can send you guys the Excel sheet. I have it from, I think I did every day, and I have it separated by weeks every day from like, I think January 15th up until like March when we went home.
I bet on that sheet, if you watch when the deaths go steady, that's when they switch their reporting. That's when they went from and the whole point of the whole premise of the at the beginning was we don't want to overwhelm the system. We don't want to overwhelm the system.
You don't want to, And at that point, it was like, it's a hands up. We got something new. I don't know where this shit's going to go, but I know it's bad.
Yeah, then it changed. It evolved from that.
I know it's bad. I got no answers on it, Adam. And that's why I was going to tell you. I say, bro, I feel for your situation. I feel for my situation. I feel for Vic's. I feel for Jack's. But in the same note, anything out the political machine's mouth, you already know, man. You got to trust your better judgment on this.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying, and I'm not trying to go like, I've been I've been trying to go off of what scientists talk about, you know.
Yeah, but even they're paid, bro. Like some are paying, you know, and I say paid and delegated, like Fauci or whatever.
I mean, the CDC
These
is a government organization.
Is it or is it private? Like, is it like NASA or the
CDC's
Federal
not private, right? Is it? I think
no, they're government. It's government.
It's government.
CDC's government.
It's government. But I mean, the fact
like I
that
said,
when this shit first started going on, you could tell he had absolutely no problem going on right after the president and saying the exact opposite of what they. So I mean, they haven't seemed to have had a lot of issues with.
You should watch the YouTube. There's a YouTube video showing Fauci, and it's just hilarious. Him change and flip flop back and forth.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to say something about that. Like, I want, like, if they had kept the exact same message the entire time as we learned more and more and more, like that would bother me more. Like they're willing to say, look, this is what we currently know. Now we have 3 months worth of more information. And based on that, we now know this. Now we have 3 months worth more. The more information, the more data that you have to go off of. You don't see how
there could be mistrust though when you see him say,
look,
no, Matt,
if you don't understand,
if you know what it feels like,
if you don't understand the scientific method, yes, I can understand that.
You know what it feels like, Adam, and I know you've seen Menace to Society. You grew up in the hood with me. You seen Menace to Society.
Yeah.
This feels like that part of Menace to Society where he was interrogating, like, oh yeah, you say you went to the store at 3:00 or was it 4?
Yeah.
You know you done fucked up now, right?
I hear you. I understand.
Before you said it was 3:00, but right. You sure it was on Thursday at 2, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. It was Thursday at 2. Yeah,
Right, but
that's what this whole
right.
Like the government is like,
but Adam,
Thursday.
He admitted to lying. He admitted that he lied
about the mask thing. Yeah, okay.
So if he lies in some aspect, how can you 100% trust?
Because he had a good reason to do it. Because I understand why he did it. That's why I can still trust him.
No, it's not a good reason to do it.
Yes, there are lots. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Try with your girl.
There are lots
with somebody
and lots of
tell
good
your
reasons.
Girl, I got a great reason for why I slept with her. I'm sorry I lied to you, but she had a really fast.
Yeah, except here's the problem.
Should he not report the science and not have a reason to lie?
Here's the reason why. Because masses, the people, individual people are smart, intelligent, deep thinking, well-mannered people. Society, like groups of people, are fucking morons, which we've seen over the last 2 years. I mean, whether you agree with, regardless,
the toilet paper was stupid.
Regardless of what side of any argument you fall under, you recognize that at least half the population is fucking retarded. Okay, so yes, can I understand why, in the midst of what was going on, he said what he thought he needed to say to make sure that the people that were going to be taking care of the eons of sick motherfuckers coming into the hospital had masks to wear when they did it? Yeah, to me that makes sense.
How am I supposed to trust him?
Because you, like me, could recognize that it was important.
That's like Dot's point. If you tell your wife you had a good reason for cheating, then it's okay.
Because we were talking when I got to go really soon. When we were talking about abortion, I tried to make this point. It's not black and white. Like, we are smart people who have the ability to recognize that just because something looks and feels a lot like one thing doesn't mean that it is. Different situations, no matter how close they are to each other, are different. You have to sometimes judge them with different criteria than you judge a cheating husband on. I mean, we know that to be true.
I understand what you're saying, but I think you should report the science and let me make my decision.
Yeah, okay, but you also recognize, right? But you also recognize.
Because you could lie to me again for my benefit.
But you also recognize that had he done that, then we would have probably not had enough nurses and doctors to take care of us when we started getting sick, right? So I mean, there's consequences.
Does it not set a precedent? Does it not set a precedent that you could lie to me again?
I don't. You obviously feel that way. I don't. I think when you explain to me, it's the same thing that, like, look, when we're getting ready to invade a country. And we don't tell any, like, in a news report, hey, are we invading Iraq? And the press secretary says, no, we're not, right? And then 10 hours later, you find out we were. Well, why did they lie to you? Well, it was because we didn't want the enemy to know that we were invading Iraq. And we understand that. We don't say, hold on, because that's the same point.
I don't trust the government. I'm trusting the doctor to make a decision for me.
But it doesn't matter whether it's the government or not. What I'm saying is we recognize that there was a legitimate reason for the press secretary to lie to us. There was a good reason. It was because at that particular moment, we needed that to be a secret. Like there are reasons why people need to lie to people, and you can recognize that and say there's a legitimate reason for that. I don't see a legitimate reason for Fauci to lie about whether or not we should get a vaccine or not. What's his benefit from that? You can give me a straight line to why he lied about whether or not we should be going out and buying the last of the fucking masks off, right? What's the straight line to him saying get vaccinated if he wholeheartedly doesn't think you should?
Okay, hold on. So I went ahead and looked it up. It says that Fauci's comments on masks, he never said that masks were not, they did not work. He said that they were actually for people that were infected to not spread the infection to other people. Now, he said that he thought that not everyone needed, at the time, he thought not everyone needed to go out and buy a mask. He said it was more for the people that have the infection to not spread the infection. In the coming weeks, they decided that no, that because of the way the virus works, that everyone should go ahead and get masks.
And I would say that goes to my other argument, which is that as we get more information,
right? And he did note later on that one of the other things was that he was concerned about there being a shortage. After which they found out there really was no shortage of masks, and that there were enough masks out there, and that again everyone should try and go get masks and wear them.
Right. So
it's not like he never said masks don't work. He said that
what I meant was he didn't recommend them for everyone. And
everybody
my point was,
what I'm saying. As more information comes out, he updates what he says. That's what anybody should do.
My point was to what you just said, was that his main concern for not encouraging everyone was his concern of the availability for the mask.
Well, it wasn't his main concern. It was a concern, because I heard that too at the very beginning. The deal was masks really aren't to protect me. It's not really that I'm not breathing in it doesn't really protect me as well from breathing in the virus. It actually protects me from spreading it to someone else.
I would say it helps.
It does both. It does both.
It does to prevent, because it's not 100%.
Right? Both people.
You're right.
It's not a preventative. Right?
And both people wearing it is better.
You're right. It does, but it protects you more. It protects more from the spread of the virus than it does from you to someone else than from someone else to you, because it's actually cutting off more of the air that is spread out and the droplets, because that's the whole idea. Is it's not airborne. It's actually the droplets. So the droplets from your breath, it's the moisture from your breath.
Right. Captures your moisture.
The mask. Exactly. So that's the
look, my
part of it.
But I would say, and I like to concede points where, look, I don't know all the shit that y'all were talking about the mask. I hadn't heard any of it, right? But that's my point. Is like I will concede your point to the greater point of the argument, which is, even if he did do that, which I don't know that he did, there are times when it makes sense to lie to the general public because it's going to get you a safer result. Like not having.
How do you expect me to trust you?
Well, that's the other thing. I mean,
I expect people to be adults and recognize, there was a good reason for doing that, and not just say,
"Don't lie to me."
But everybody does that. I mean, do you not trust a single person you know? Because everybody lies. You know that's true. So if anybody tells a lie they can't ever be trusted again. I mean, we know that's not true.
It's the whole meteorite thing. It's the whole meteorite theory. If we were actually going to be hit by a giant meteorite that was going to destroy the population,
they would tell us.
No one would know. We wouldn't know until it hit.
And when they shouldn't. Because there's literally nothing we could do about it. They shouldn't tell us.
It would cause panic and everything, and everyone would start killing each other.
Unless people's got some. I mean, there'll be
a whole lot. The only way we'd be saving Morgan Freeman was president.
There'd be a whole lot of atheists really fast.
Tell the Virgin phone guy, right, and the Amazon dude and the Tesla guys to get in. Let them know to get in their ships and get the fuck out. And for the rest of us, there ain't shit we can do. You know what I'm saying?
Hey Doc, your brother can attest to this. when you first go in the military, it's amazing how many people get religious.
Well, right. I'm sure.
When you first get in and you're there, it's amazing how many everybody goes to church.
Yeah, prison. Prison.
As soon as you get to regular duty, done.
Prison. People get religion in prison. People get religion in the military. People get religion on their deathbeds. I mean, that's definitely true.
You're damn right.
Because here's the thing.
And you know what church is getting? That money.
That's where I give that credit that we were talking about to atheists, because for somebody, I'm spiritual, so I'm not knocking people, but I think for a lot of people, not everybody, for a lot of people, all religion is, to a decent amount of people, is hope that there's something past death, right? It's what gets them through the day of, I might not wake up tomorrow, and I don't want to believe that I'm going to stop existing at that point. And religion gives me something to believe. And I'm not saying everybody at all, but I think there is a decent percentage of people that for them, religion is how they get up and put one foot in front of the other every day and not have to worry about the fact that at any moment, it literally, life stops existing, right? And so for people who are facing, like people who are on their deathbed, right? People who are going, getting ready to get shot at, who have those beliefs and can keep them, that takes some balls. You know what I'm saying? It takes some balls to say, you know what? I'm not going to make myself feel better about this. I'm going to hold true to what I've always believed in. I'm not going to worry about getting judged if I get shot in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't believed it's true this whole time. I'm going to continue to believe that. You know what I mean? That takes some balls.
Let's kind
of nothing else. Take some balls. Yeah. All right. It's been fun, guys. Jack, thanks for coming on. It was a blast. We're going to bring him back on.
Thanks,
Yeah, we're going to bring Jack back on. I've talked to Jack. He liked it. We're going to bring him back on some more. So thanks for coming, man. It's been fun.
Great time.
Keeping us honest. And one last thing, Bullet. Yes. We didn't read all your comments. I got a birthday party. I swear to God, I want to read them all. Keep commenting. I'm sorry we didn't get to them quicker, but just like on this show,
we'll hit them during the week and get some answers to them.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw the beginning, but at the beginning of this show, we talked about the comments that came after the show ended. We'll definitely talk about all your comments at the beginning of next week's show. I promise. All right. So thanks for listening and commenting. Keep doing it. We're not ignoring you. I swear to God, we will talk about your shit next week. All right.
From SA and Houston Town.
Signing off. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
I'm actually in Asgard right now.
Oh shit!
All right. You're in Asgard. That's like
I'm in Asgard right now.
Tell Thor I said what's up. No, what's his dad's name?
Odin.
Odin's the man. Fuck
Odin's
Thor. Tell Odin I said what's up.
Fuck Thor. Hey Thor, fuck you.
Cut your hair. Cut your hair, bitch.
Cut your hair. Stop being pretty, motherfucker.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all next week.
Later.
All right.
Bye.
Love it.